So our next speaker is somebody I had a chance to meet at Nature of Success, which, by the way, totally has my plug to go. And I got to meet some really awesome people that I have not got to rub shoulders with. And I got to be with some old friends, and it just made it amazing. So today's speaker is Kelsha. She's a brain integration practitioner, specializing in emotional diffusion healing. She's trained in Brain Gym and is a part of Dr. Lisa Rankin's Whole Health Medicine Institute. She's a Touch for Health instructor and lives, some of my favorite places, in the Northern California in the Sierra Nevada mountains on Feather River with her 2 daughters and their miniature horse. She is a silver in doTERRA, and by the way, she can enroll people like nobody I've ever met. So let's give it up for Kelsha.
The question, can you hear me? Is it? Yes, on? No? Are we good? I'm getting a head shake this way from the back. No? Okay. Well, anyway. Hi, Edge Success Team. I'm so excited to be speaking to you guys today. And really, I couldn't be more proud than I am to be a member of such a very active team in doTERRA. We are so blessed to have a team that supports us the way that they do. As it's been said, my name is Kelsha, and I am a brain integration practitioner, and usually people say, what? What is that? What does that mean? I utilize acupressure healing to promote learning enhancement, so brain function. And are we good? Okay. All right, so go ahead and go to the next screen, please. We did get a little mess up there, though. Okay, well, I'm a Touch for Health instructor with the International Kinesiology College, and which means that I am certified to teach other people to do what I do. So I do that in Northern California. My biggest qualification, though, is probably that I know what it's like to actually integrate and to heal. I know that it's true, that it can happen. Next slide, please. So you have to be willing to see the darkness before the dawn. This is my mentor, Dr. Clyde Porter. He is a chiropractor out in Reno, Nevada. And when I started going to him, I was in my early 20s, and I was a complete wreck. My brain function was really poor. My hormones were a complete mess. I had been diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a hormone imbalance. When I was a young teenager, my mom took me to the Western medicine doctors because I was completely tired all the time, severely lethargic. And I didn't know it until later, but at that doctor visit, they actually thought that I had cancer. Turns out no, so good. But they put me on ferrous sulfate elixir to help me with my anemia, and it didn't help. I was on ferrous sulfate elixir for years, and it didn't do anything. When I started going to Dr. Clyde Porter, he is the only person that actually helped my system heal and do what my system was built to do. So when I went in, I had poor digestion, what's called leaky gut syndrome, and I had a whole host of self-worth issues. You guys know the gremlin voice inside your brain? It's just constant criticism and talking poorly about yourself. That was me. So after I started my own healing process and journey, I remember the first day when I lived in Colorado. I was out in my backyard, and it was the afternoon and the evening. And I remember the first full day where I realized, I haven't said anything negative to myself about myself today. That was huge, right? Completely different than I had lived the previous 20 some odd years. So, in the Strength Finders, I know that I hold intellection and learner, And so true to my nature, when I was going to Dr. Porter and wanted to know what he was doing and how it was that he was helping me, and I'm asking him all these questions, he finally tells me, Kelsha, either trust me or study it yourself. I love Dr. Porter, but his office operates in 15-minute increments. So how much can you learn during that time, right? So I did both. I trusted him, and I studied it myself. Next slide, please. So brain integration helps with all of these things. I don't need to read it to you. Reading comprehension, memory, all those things. People that go through the process of brain integration, the benefits are different for each person, depending on where they need help and what matters to them. If they're in business and it's really important for them to remember names, that might be an area that they recognize that they are helped with the brain integration protocol. Helps with physical coordination and balance. So just to make sure that we're all have our brain function on after lunch. When I got here this morning and Dawn told me that they put me after lunch, I was like, oh no, brain. All right, so everybody's like, wah. So if you can, go ahead and stand up, and we are going to do some exercises that are based on brain integration. Let me see if I can attach this to myself. And if you can't stand up, you can actually do these exercises from your chair too, and you'll see how. But so we're going to start with the homolateral crawl. So that's same arm, same leg. So go ahead and start doing that. Spread out if you need to. You can turn sideways in your aisle there. So when you are doing the homolateral crawl, and you want to make sure that your knees are up in front of you, and your arms are moving, so you might need to turn sideways. When you are doing that, you are forcing one hemisphere at a time to function. So you're going right brain, right brain, right. Now, go ahead and switch to cross crawl. Opposite arm, opposite leg. Opposite arm, opposite leg. See if you can get that going. Okay, it's going to get real fun, you guys. So, without moving your head, when you're cross crawling, you're going to circle your eyes around the room, okay? So, without moving your head, just your eyes. So, get that cross crawl going. Opposite arm, opposite leg. When you are cross-crawling, you are forcing your brain to use both hemispheres at the same time. Left and right brain, right? And circle those eyes around, because when you're circling your eyes, you are accessing different parts of your brain. Okay, go ahead and take a break just for a second, but don't sit down. So when you are moving your eyes around the room, you are accessing those different parts of your brain, right? As at the same time that you are cross-crawling, you are forcing both hemispheres to be used. So now we're going to go back to the cross-crawl. You're going to circle your eyes, and then we're going to add humming. Why? It's not a song. Because humming is a gestalt function, right? So go ahead, go into that cross-crawl, circle those eyes around the room, and Now switch your eye direction and count out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, go ahead and sit down. Did anybody struggle with that? That feel a little awkward? So because I am a learner and I like to understand why, this wasn't just to get your blood flowing. Cross crawl forces the use of both hemispheres at the same time. Eye circling, you're accessing all the different parts of your brain. Humming, gestalt function. Counting out loud, logic function. It is about integrating your brain and getting the function for all of those going at the same time. Let's go ahead, next slide. Janet, thank you. All right, so these are my girls. My youngest is 8. Her name is Laylee Michelle. I got Laylee in Atlanta, Georgia, when she was 3 months old. Her birth parents came to America after his family was all killed in the war down there. So he came to America, and then he sent home for his wife. They had a teenage son at the time that Laylee was born, as well as a 13-month-old. Laylee has Down syndrome. And in their culture, that's a little bit of a struggle, as well as they speak a dialect of French that is not common in America. So they did not feel up to the task. And so she was in foster care for those 3 months until I got her when she was 3 months old. She has brought a lot of insight and love, as you would expect, to our family. And she has also been a massive teacher in energetic boundary setting and sticking up for yourself. I'm constantly telling strangers, it's okay to tell her no. She knows what it means. Jetty is my oldest daughter. She will be 11 in July. For those of you sitting over here that know Jetty, how old would you actually place her at, though? 25. Right? So Jetty, and I look forward to all of you meeting her at some point, because I know that we will be around this company for a long time and that she will make it to these events. Jetty is one of the most intellectual and empathic and intuitive little humans that you will meet. She is also adopted. I was there at the hospital when she was born. We cut the cord and we waited in the motel for 2 days until she could come home. And when she came home, she was so severely upset. She was very sad about being placed for adoption, right? And I just wanted to love her and be her mom, and that was not what she had in mind. So it took us 3 years of torture to figure out what was going on. Is anybody in here familiar with reactive attachment disorder? Okay, it's real, and it doesn't have to be because you were bounced around a foster system. It's just a disconnection from your heart to your brain and feeling stuck in fight or flight constantly, where you feel like you're going to be annihilated, right? And that's not fun for anybody. But we went through a healing journey. So one day I was sitting in Sunday school in my church, and I don't even know really why I did, other than just moved to. I stood up and I walked out into the hallway during Sunday school. And one of my friends was standing out there. And I walked up to her and the words just kind of spilled out of my mouth. I wasn't even really sure what reactive attachment disorder was, but I said to her, I think Jetty has reactive attachment disorder. And she says, I wondered when you were going to know that. Because she, bless her heart, had already adopted multiple children and was very familiar with the process. But she didn't just say that to me. She loved me, and she came over to my house after church, and she brought me Nancy Thomas's Taming the Tiger While It's Still a Kitten program. And she also told me about a brain integration practitioner that lived about 15 minutes from me, and she said, you should get Jetty's brain integration done, and you should start this attachment healing program as soon as possible. So the attachment program largely consisted of me holding Jetty in a sling for 4 to 6 hours a day, while she was a 3-year-old, for 3 months. I was severely depressed by then, right? Because I was like stuck inside for 3 months and just like, I'm an introvert empath. Having someone else's intense energy, someone that is sure that they do not want to be a part of your family right then, right there, that was so hard. But something that we learned was that building trust was the key, right? Building trust is the key for our emotional wellness. Trust in ourselves and trust in others. So when I went through the brain integration process with Jetty and the attachment healing program, it changed our life. It turned everything around. Changed our life. I am so thankful for that day that I walked out of Sunday school. So I learned, because of seeing the difference, I went and I trained in brain integration after I had trained in Touch for Health. And I learned that the amygdala is the part of the brain that is in charge of emotional processing. So when we do brain integration, we are working on the limbic system where the amygdala is, and we are working on trust, de-stressing the brain, taking the stress out of the brain. So that was when Jetty was 3 years old. And then about a year later, she was doing amazing. She was receiving love. She was telling everybody she loved them. She was just showing so much kindness to everybody. But then about a year later, our whole life flipped upside down like it will. And my ex-husband left our home and left the state. And where do you think her trust went? So reactive attachment disorder issues resurfaced again, and I was single parenting, and I went from being a stay-at-home mom to working and providing financially for us. I also homeschool my kids, so they're homeschooled. I was financially providing, and her reactive attachment disorder was creeping back up. And I was talking to a friend one day and I said, I just want Jetty to know that I love her. I'm so tired of parenting. I'm so tired of thinking about her emotional wellness and her mental health and where it's heading and how she's interacting with the family and what she's doing and how she's going to grow up to be a human. I'm so tired of it. I just want her to know that I love her. And so I don't really tend to do things a little bit, so it just dawned on me. It was a download from the universe. That's all I'm going to tell her for a full week. For a full week, I'm committing that I am only telling her that I love her. And I did, because I am a really committed person. So the first day, she thought it was really, really amazing. The first day of I love you, that was cool. Mom's telling me she loves me all the time. Awesome. By the second day, she was screaming at me bloody murder. Stop telling me you love me! By the third day, she realized, Mom is only going to tell me she loves me. So she went and she started to get into everything she knew she wasn't supposed to and do everything she knew she wasn't supposed to. And I love you came out a lot more like, I love you. But I was committed. So by about the 5th, 6th day, it was amazing to see what happened. She started to self-regulate. I would watch from a distance, and I would see her start to do something she wasn't supposed to. And she would choose, of her own free will, her own agency, you guys, her own consciousness, her own self-love. She would choose from that space not to do the bad thing. And so then the I love yous got to be really, really genuine. I love you. And what's the energy that's conveyed in that I love you? I love you. I'm proud of you. I trust you. I trust you to handle your life. That even if you choose to make a bad decision, I trust you to handle it. I trust you to handle the consequences of making that choice. So, trust is the primary emotion that shuts down the amygdala. If trust is broken, the amygdala shuts down, and amygdala is where your emotional processing happens. So keep that in mind. as you leave here, the implications. If your emotional processing feels off, then there's work to do on your trust. Go ahead, next slide. So what is Touch for Health? Most energy healing modalities come back to the foundation is Touch for Health. Feel free to look up the history of Touch for Health. It's very solid. It's very technical, why it works and how it works. We have what is called a spindle cell in the belly of our muscle. In the belly of our muscle, that spindle cell is the relayer of stress. So when you are stressed, the spindle cell sends that information to the brain, and your brain knows that stress is not good for you, and it sends the message back to the muscle to relax. So by a raise of hands, who has been muscle tested before? Yay! I love all of my weirdos, right? When I was growing up, I just always wanted to be normal. And I'm an INFJ on the Myers-Briggs, and I was raised in the LDS church, and I adopted a black daughter with Down syndrome, and I'm an energy healer. And guys, it was like 2 years ago until I finally realized, okay, I will just deal with it. There's nothing normal about my life. And that's okay. So I'm so excited that so many of you have been muscle tested before. I'm actually going to, they always tell you in doTERRA as you're building your business to call on your uplines. So I'm actually going to ask David and Rod to come up here for me. If they're willing, of course. Come on up. So we're just going to demonstrate the spindle cell stress, showing stress on these guys. So let's go ahead and, Rod, have you ever been muscle tested before?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and turn this way, David. You're going to stick this arm out straight here. So we're just using his anterior deltoid, and go ahead and say, my name's David.
My name's David.
Good. So he's locked in and he's strong there, so the spindle cell is not relaying stress to the brain. So say, my name is Sally.
Sally.
Okay, so hold your arm strong. Say, my name is David.
My name's David.
Good. My name is Sally.
My name's Sally.
Okay, so say just the word love.
Love.
Good. So he's locked in and he's strong there. And I'm pushing you guys. I'm pushing, right? This isn't. Okay. Now say hate.
Hate.
Okay. So a lot of energy kinesiologists, when they demo for the public, they'll go love, strong, and then they'll go hate, just to show you the exaggeration of the movement. But there's a difference. It's slight. Where you're locked in and you're strong versus when it's unlocked or weak, right? So go ahead. I'm going to demo on Rod now. Are you scared? All right, go ahead and hold your arm out here.
Uh-oh. No.
This is a good arm. All right. So go ahead and say, I like fresh air, and hold strong there.
I like fresh air.
Good. So his system believes that. It's true. Truth causes strength, you guys. Lying causes weakness. Don't be a liar. It will weaken you. So I like fresh air. Now go ahead and say, I like to puke.
I like to puke.
All right. Was that a little bit harder to hold that time? But now I want to show you guys something else. Go ahead and put that down for a second. I want to show you the power of your thoughts. So what they tasked me with today was not an easy feat. They wanted me to show you energy working. How it works. They wanted me to show you the science behind energy healing, and it's like, well, when I teach Touch for Health, it's a week-long intensive, right? Okay, so go here, hold strong, but watch this, and you feel the difference between the first test and the second test. So this is the first one. Okay, now this is the second one. So what was the difference?
You pushed on the second one.
Oh, okay. That's what they always say. Let's go back to the first one. Feel this one. Good. Are you locked in there? Okay, what's the second one? How's this one feel? Let's do it on David. Rod's a naysayer. All right, so we'll go to David. So this is the first one. Feel this one? Good. Now you're overcompensating, so let's go down here a little bit. I know. The men, that's why I like to demo on the men, because they're like, no way. Okay, so go ahead and feel this one. Now feel this one. Where are you trying? Okay, feel the first one. This one. Now the second one. So what was the difference between the first and the second test?
She was pushing on the first.
I was just maintaining, so the movement.
So the first one was locked in, the second one we all saw. It was like, the first one, these were my thoughts. Love. These are my thoughts on the second one. I hate you.
That's mean.
I know, right? Thank you, you guys. So let's just sit with that for a second. If I can stand next to someone and I can show you strong, weak, locked in, unlocked, what's the difference? I didn't have to say anything out of my mouth to weaken David, right? And Rod, he just doesn't like to admit it. Right? It's the energy. It's your thoughts, the power of your thoughts, you guys. So if that's true for me standing next to David and making his arm drop, weakening him, what are we doing to ourselves every day? How does the way you talk about yourself affect you? It's not just a theory, is what I hope you walk away from this presentation with. It's not that it's just nice to talk about yourself. You are literally weakening your physical system with negative talk. And I know that that holds us to the fire. That's one reason why I love this work. It's one reason why I teach it. Because self-worth and self-value has to come. Self-validation. And as you build your doTERRA business, you can wait for your upline to tell you that you're amazing and that you're a diamond, and it's really nice when they do. Or you can also just know it about yourself. And that actually, you walk around with that every day, knowing, yes, it's true. I can do this. I can do this, right? So mine and your thoughts matter. This work has taught me so much about getting out of the space of judging other people, thinking that I know what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing, how they should be dressed, and what their hair should look like, and what church they should go to, and that. Why would I want to walk around weakening everybody? That doesn't make any sense. And especially in a business that you are building that is based on relationships. Because did I need to tell David out loud that I hate him? Or could I just walk past him at a convention and think it? And would he weaken? Yes. Right? So we don't do that. We bring ourselves into a higher law. Educate yourself, thank you, on what you're doing to people with your thoughts. All right, go ahead, next slide. So the auricular massage, actually, this is one of the things that attracted me to doTERRA in the beginning, because I recognized something from the AromaTouch technique that I already knew from Touch for Health. And I was like, hallelujah, doTERRA as a company is working with energy workers. So this caught my attention right off the bat. So go ahead and get out your favorite oil, or one that can go on neat, that you don't need to dilute. Share from a neighbor if you need to. So the task that I was given to show you that energy healing is real, that it's valid. This is one thing we're going to do. So get out that oil. Don't apply it just yet. choose one of your favorites. I'm leaving it up to you because it doesn't entirely matter. They all vibrate at a very high frequency. When I started with doTERRA, that was the thing that caught my attention, was I muscle tested the oils. When Kelsey came to my office to teach my first class, I didn't let her just teach her class. I'm sure I was super annoying. I was like muscle testing all the oils, like, tell me that one, what's that one? So everybody sit so that you can look over your shoulders. We're gonna check your range of motion. Before you put your oil on, just make sure that you're not moving, that your shoulders aren't moving. Feet flat on the ground, and look all the way left, all the way right. What you want to do is make sure that you see how far you can go. How far can your range of motion go? So everybody check that, whether you're standing, sitting. Feel where the tension is. Then put a drop of oil on your fingertips, rub your fingertips. And you're going to start at the top of your ears, and this should look familiar to any of you that have given or received an AromaTouch massage. And you're going to go all the way down your earlobes. You're going to do that about 7 or 10 times. So start all the way up at the top and pull it out and down. What you're doing is you're hitting all these acupressure points in the ear that are connected to the spine and the shoulders, the neck. You might feel your cheeks flush. Some of you might breathe a big sigh when the processing happens. So after you've done that about 7 times, go ahead and without turning your shoulders, check your range of motion again. If you notice some improvement, go ahead and do a couple more. If you didn't notice some improvement, go ahead and do a couple more. Because sometimes that initial seeing, whoa, then the second time you're like, wow, this is real. Okay, so by show of hands, who saw a notice of improvement, range of motion? Look around the room. Right? Sometimes if you already have a lot of flexibility, you won't see that much. But for the better part, most of us do. So you guys, I think that that's pretty stinking magical and wondrous that you can touch some points on your ears and improve your range of motion. And as wellness advocates, when you go out to your classes and teach your classes, you do not need to be a certified energy kinesiologist to show them that. How easy is that? Ask people at the beginning of your class, check your range of motion. Do your ear rolls. Do you notice an improvement? One of the tools that I use often. Okay, go ahead and to the next. So why doTERRA essential oils? I'm not here to sell you guys on why doTERRA essential oils. You know, they're therapeutic grade. We can trust the company, we can trust their quality. As an energy kinesiologist, I muscle test them and they test high. What we are working on is helping people achieve homeostasis so that they are not stuck in fight or flight, right? So like we were talking about with my daughter and the amygdala and the trust and all of those things, in the work that I do, I just constantly am knowing that everybody that ends up on my massage table to be worked on, they just want to feel loved. And they want to feel loving. They want to feel like their heart is open so that they can give love and so that they can receive love. And so we help them do that. And however you do it uniquely, your own flavor, but I can almost guarantee you that as you get further down the line in doTERRA as a company, that you will see that what you're doing really is helping people love themselves and love other people more, right? So next slide. So our last little exercise, this has to do with your amygdala. So go ahead and get out your favorite oil that you like to inhale. Whichever one you like to breathe. Your favorite oil, as they always are asking, right? What's your favorite oil? So the 4-7-8 technique, you're going to inhale for 4, hold your breath for 7, before you exhale for 8, and repeat. So drop in your hand, inhale for 4, and everybody just go ahead and do this a couple of times. Inhale for 4, hold for 7. You're holding your breath, and the holding your breath at the top is the important part. That is where you are resetting your amygdala. And what did we learn about the amygdala? The amygdala is the part of the brain that helps with your emotional processing. So as you go out and you teach your classes or you're meeting with people one-on-one in their homes, teach them this technique. How simple is that? You don't even have to know the fancy names of the brain and what it's doing. Just tell them, you know, when I breathe with my oils like this, it helps me feel calmer. If it's true, only tell them the truth. Okay? So just as a recap of what my presentation, I hope, accomplished for you, is that you know acupressure points are real. When we have these amazing protocols from Janet and Molly and Desiree, and they tell us where to apply the essential oils on your solar plexus or the hidden valley or whatever it is, and you wonder, does it really make a difference? It does make a difference. The acupressure points are real. They have been mapped. We know that they affect different systems of the body and our emotional wellness. So acupressure points are real. The way you talk to yourself and about other people does matter. And I just want you guys to know that I am so glad for being a part of this team. Poor David, when he talked to me the first time, I was like, no, I love my clients and I love my work, and I will not build this business. And then I realized my ability to help people understand this work is a calling. So thank you so much. Inhale.
I don't want to we got complaints that we weren't finishing the songs, so maybe we should finish one of these times. Wow. Thank you, Kelsha. That is exactly what I was thinking about, to do that. It was amazing. So our next speaker is somebody that I don't know all that well, but I love him just like he was one of my brothers. David Ellis and his wife Julianne are Blue Diamonds in doTERRA and have been sharing and building doTERRA since day one. David joined Julianne in doTERRA after she hit silver, and 4 months later they hit diamond. Yeah, she hit David, all right. Wow. Okay, so that's why we have glasses on. David brings with him a deep understanding of how residual income works because of his history in financial planning and real estate investment. And right now, David and Julianne are living out a lifelong dream of raising their children on a small farm in Whitefish, Montana. So that is my second favorite place in the world. I will someday be able to call those places home. So with that, we're going to bring David Ellis to the stage.
Yeah, I just turned myself on. That was way more appropriate. Oh, man, I want to speak behind Kelsha every time I ever speak, because that was awesome, and now I'm like in the right mind space. Thank you. You guys, it's really cool. I do remember, actually, and by the way, I traded fashion for functionality here because I was freezing. Apparently, I still have a little bit of Texas blood left in me. And apparently I can't work a mic. Third time's a charm. There. Okay, apparently I have a little Texas blood left in me because I have been freezing back there, and I was convinced there was a vent like right above me. And then everywhere I walked, I still felt cold. So, yeah, that was awesome. Speaking behind Kelsha, you guys, I have become very much not only a believer, but a truly, what's even the word? It's just integrating this whole energy thing into my life. I was the very skeptic one in the beginning. And that kind of stuff, like I was just, you guys, I don't know if any of you guys did this, but when y'all were like doing this thing, I was like, please nobody walk by, please nobody walk by. Right? Because I was standing up the top. It looked really funny. And then this dude walks in a little bit later to fix all this stuff. I was like, whew, yeah, we kept our reputation. No, you guys, I am so excited to be here. In a way, I kind of feel like what's his name? Kiefer Sutherland? Isn't that the guy? Or Matt Damon, right? Matt Damon. He's only good when he's in a movie that he's running a lot. Have you guys noticed that? Give him lines, the dude can't act. That's for my wife. She loves, yeah. You guys ever seen Invictus? No heads. Good. It's the worst movie ever because they gave him like more than 2 lines. But the reason I say that is in some ways I feel like I'm like one of these like cast actors, right? Or you know, somebody that's like a villain once, they're a villain in every movie after that. I spoke 2 years ago and I shared this concept of creating an asset, right, and building an income and the value of that. And so they asked me to do that again at Leadership this year. And so I did it, but I realized that the biggest feedback, you guys, that I got from that presentation was I get all these ladies that come up to me and they say, you know what, that was so good. She's like, I didn't get a bit of it, but I took it home and I showed my husband, and all of a sudden he was like pushing me out the door. It's like, it was amazing. And I realized, okay, why didn't they get it? And I realized it was a presentation built for a dude, right? It was all numbers and figures, and all the dudes that have watched it are like, yeah, I loved it. I loved it. It was awesome. But so what I tried to do is I tried to revamp it a little bit and do it in more of a, I wouldn't say feminine because the dudes are going to love it too, but a more universal feel, okay? So what I did is this is the presentation that I gave at Leadership this last month, but I realized that I did it in Orlando. How many of you were in Orlando? Woo! Me and Jody and Rod.
And I was sitting on the front row.
Yeah. So Janet asked me if I would, since I did not do it, it was during our kids' spring break. It's interesting. Emily Wright, she asked me, she says, can we get you? You guys, this is really funny in case you guys are ever stuck in this, and I'm just going to take 2 seconds, but this was really funny. Emily calls me up and she says, hey, David, she's like, we have tried and we cannot get anybody to present on your topic in Orlando. She says, everybody knowing that they're presenting opposite of you, they've all said, no, we can't get anybody to do it. I said, oh, Emily, that's fantastic. It's so fortunate. I said, because, you guys have built this amazing company that has attracted such amazing people to it. I'm going to be in Florida, but I'm not going to be in California. So I'm sure you'll find somebody there. And she's like, oh. The reality is, you guys, the things that I taught are very, very simple. And I'm going to show this to you guys again, and I want you to internalize it. It's different. It's not the same presentation, but I want you to internalize this because the things that I'm going to share with you they are mind-blowing, but they're very simple. And I want you to be able to walk out of here and share these same concepts with people. What I really truly want to do, you guys, I want to give you something that Monday morning when you guys get home, you can call somebody up, set an appointment, and have something to share that will change their life, okay? So, that's my universal. Okay, so creating an asset for the future. You guys, first of all, we have to understand what an asset is, okay? So, an asset, well, I'll get to that in just a second, actually. First of all, as the idea of creating an asset for the future. Anything that we do, well, actually, yeah, because I'm switching things up. So, everything that we do, we had this question last night in our leadership thing, is to, this like, how do I get where I want to be? And people are always asking us, how do I find a builder? How do I advance rank? How do I do all those things? You guys, everything boils down to really one thing. And that, you guys, if you can just internalize this part, it will move every other aspect of your business. And that is this understanding of why we do what we do. Okay? It's why we do what we do. This is the belief pyramid. And you notice that in order to get to elite, you just have to have an understanding of the product, right? If you love the product, you're going to go out there and you're going to put it on enough, there's going to be enough people around you when you're doing it, you will get to elite just simply by the fact that you love the product, right? You get to premier, it's because you have to bring somebody on with you. You have to have an understanding or a belief in the opportunity of sharing the business, of sharing with others, because you can't get to premier without having two legs. Okay? Then we get to silver. You've got to believe in yourself. Because you guys, it's amazing to me how many people you can run into that will get to silver, they will build to silver with no builders. And you might be one of those thinking, oh, I'm the only one that's ever done this. No, you guys, it happens a lot because you believe so much in the products. You get a couple of people that get on there, but they're not truly committed yet. Because at that point, it's you driving it. Because somebody that's getting to elite, some of you came in from the gate like, I am doing this, I am going, and you shot up. Others, they had to work their way into it. And so they have this belief in the product that gets them going. But if you believe in yourself, you can get to silver. But the same reality, right? From elite to premier. In order to go from silver to gold, you've got to be able to build a premier, from an elite to premier. And so that has to shift from not just a belief in you, but you have to have a belief in your builders. You have to believe in your people. And if you don't believe in them, and you don't speak that belief into them, and like Kelsha showed us, help them to understand it, right? But speak it to them, help them to internalize it. That's when you get to gold. Now, how do you get to diamond? Because that's what we're going to do, right? We're going to build 1,000 diamonds. To get to diamond, you have to understand why you're doing that. And we hear that all the time. How many of you have heard ever before that your why is important? Every hand should be raised. We hear it all the time. You guys, there's a reason why the why is so important. It's because you've heard several times today that it's going to be hard, right? It's going to be a challenge. Seth taught it. It's necessary that it's hard so that you value it. Because if you don't value it, you will not put the effort in that it takes to get there when the obstructions come. Because obstructions come for everyone. And what gets you past the obstruction is the belief and this knowledge, this understanding of the value of what's on the other side. If it's important enough to get there, you will get there. You guys, I had an experience that illustrates this really, really well about 2 weeks ago. For those of you that now everyone knows, I live in Montana. We're about 17 minutes from my house to the base of the ski mountain. It has been so much fun. We had over 400 inches of snow total cumulative this year. Every other day was a powder day. So I'm up there, this was 2 weeks ago with my family. Now, I shouldn't say my family because my wife is now, that was a horrible. My wife is now pregnant. She's beautiful, but she's not skiing anymore. So what that means is Dad's up there with all the kids. And I'm willing to do it because that gets me up there. right? So I'm up there with my kids. My little boy, who we just finally got potty trained. Yes, he's 4.5. He'll be 5 in June. He finally decided, yeah, Dad, I guess it's time. So we're up there on the hill, and he looks at me. We just get to the very top, and he looks at me, and he's like, excuse me, we were about 100 yards down from the top, right? So past that point where you can go back, you're not hiking back. Our only option is we got to go down. And so he looks at me, he says, Dad, I got to go to the bathroom. I was like, oh, sweet dude, there's plenty of trees. I've taught you. You know what to do. I was like, no. I got it. He's like, yeah. You guys, my wife's the prepared one in our family. She's the one that makes sure that there's diapers in the diaper bag, that there's wipes. Dad, what does he do? We got your skis? You got it? Let's go. I'm not prepared. I am not prepared for what I know is going to happen in a pull-up. Right? Do you guys know that they don't hold anything? So I'm up there, and I'm thinking, okay, we got to get him down. How committed am I to getting him down the mountain quickly? The answer is very committed. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 50. Because as I mentioned, we've still got a ways to go to get home. I mean, this is not going to be good. So we start heading down, and we're with some friends. I say, hey, you guys go, because they were going to go off and around this other way. I said, we're just going to go the fastest way down, which is right down the mountain. Now, granted, I've actually never been down that part of the mountain, but it is a straight shot. So I didn't know that it goes from this to this with my 4.5-year-old beginner skier. Yeah, sweet. So we get going, I get him going down, and he's doing his thing, and he is like a tactician, right? My son that's just above him, he just points him and he prays. And we just catch him at the bottom, right? This guy, no, Ethan, he's in the picture, he's the baby. He's not a baby anymore. He is the tactician. It is like, all the way down. For my son, I'm trying to teach him pizza, pizza, pizza. My Ethan, the younger one, French fries, all the time. French fries, dude, just French fries. Because I'm going to end up pushing him the rest of the way, right? So he's doing this all the way down. And in my head, I'm like, what are we going to do? I'm going to have to try and ask somebody. People don't bring stuff like that up to the mountain. I'm like, can you wrap it with napkins? Right? Finally, you guys, I'm so committed to this, and I'm seeing the problem here. I reach over, and I grab him, and I throw him over my shoulder. And his skis are like right here. His boots are like hitting me in the head. And I start skiing down. Did I mention it was steep? And you guys know like the laws of inertia, right? I think it's inertia or velocity. More weight goes faster. When he starts screaming at me, Dad, you're gonna kill me. I'm like, he's probably right. We better stop. But you guys, I was so committed. I was willing to throw him over my shoulder and ski down what had to be a triple black. It wasn't, but it felt like it. Because I valued the end result that much. Right? That's what I'm talking about. When you want something so bad that it doesn't matter what you have to do, you'll do it. So it's why. Now, what are my whys? You guys realize your whys change. Many of you may have started in this business because you needed $200 a month to be able to finish off your grocery bill without going into debt. Is that wrong? That's not putting a monk on a mountain, right? Is it wrong? No. You guys, whatever it is that gets you to take action is right. And if it's putting $200 a month extra in your pocket because that gives you enough to feed your family, that is benevolent and it's right. And let it fuel you. Do not compare your why with someone else. Because your comparison to their why is not going to motivate you to take action. Okay, so what are mine? I love co-impact sourcing. Seth, is Seth, did you guys feel his passion? Was that amazing? Can you guys give it up for Seth and his passion? You guys, how incredible is it to have a leader like that has instilled a movement within all of us? I follow him because I believe as he does. We have the ability to make a difference in this world. And how many of you as a kid thought one day I'm going to change the world? We all did. And then we got bigger and we realized this world's a big place and we got beat up by it a little bit. We got kicked down by it a little bit. We realized, oh, yeah, it's not just all fairy tales and roses. You guys, we are changing the world. You being a part of doTERRA, doTERRA is changing healthcare. For those of you who don't understand this, the clinic thing, we look back 10 years from now, you guys, healthcare will be different in America. Yeah. You guys, we are changing the world internationally. When they go into a place, do you guys understand what an incredible blessing it is to work with doTERRA and how that spreads? And how many other countries and growers and people want to work with doTERRA because of their reputation and what they do. You guys, I had a conversation with Greg Cook one time. This was at an incentive trip. And this is one of those things that I don't share often because it was really pretty cool for me personally. As we got to talking about stuff and we were talking about doTERRA and we were talking about how he got in. And he's one of the owners, right? But how they talked to him and why he became a part of it. And at one point we started talking about this co-impact sourcing, and we started talking about the impact that they were having on the world. And he looks at me and he says, it's about the oils. Kinda. Because the oils are just a vehicle to make an impact in changing lives. Theirs, all the way across the world. Ours, by sharing it with other people. And everybody that you share it with. That's a driver for me, right? OUR, Days for Girls. I've got 4. I'm already counting that one because she's almost here. I have 4 girls. I am very passionate about an organization that teaches women their worth and their value. I am very passionate about entrepreneurism. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I remember when my mom sent me out to go recruit my friends to come mate socks because there would be a candy bar at the end for the one that mated the most socks. And because my number one strength is competition, guess who always had the most people show up? Yeah. I love entrepreneurism, and the fact that doTERRA goes out and they empower people to become entrepreneurs. You guys, I am so passionate about that. And financial freedom. Financial impact. You guys, you can have an impact when you have extra. Like you cannot have when you're trying to survive. It's simple. God can do more with you as a tool when you are free. You want to make an impact? Become free. Because when you free yourself to become a tool that can be magnified. It's the same principle as doTERRA, right? Duplication. God's trying to duplicate all of you to become instruments, to become impacts in this world. All right? Condensing time. These are my passions. I love showing people how they can go from 40 years to 4. Instead of being away from your family, working, giving everything. I was a financial advisor for 10 years. I watched people give their entire life. They waste away all of their health to make money. Only they didn't turn around and have to give all of their wealth back to get health. Boo. Yeah, it sucks. We have the ability to condense time. To condense time. You guys, these are the reasons why when I talk to somebody about the business, or when I introduce oils to someone, many of you have heard this, and I say it because it's so powerful. You guys, it is the third best day of their life. The day that I introduce doTERRA to them is the third best day of their life. Second only to their wedding, the day that they convince somebody better than them to say yes, and the birth of their children. Third, the day they meet me, and I put an oil in their hand. I believe that. I believe it with everything that I am. And therefore, is there any question when I go up to somebody and I start talking to them, is there any question in my mind that I'm going to have a positive impact on them? No. So does that affect the way that I invite? Yes. You guys, that's when why I tell you, when it comes down to just being successful, it's why are you doing it? Because why you're doing it overcomes every challenge that's going to get in your way. Okay? So, we're going to create an asset. What's an asset? You guys, it's amazing. As a financial advisor, I sit in people's homes, I say, so what are your assets? And I'd love to just ask this because this is very telling about what people view. What are your assets? What they say. Some people would say, oh, my kids, they're my greatest asset. No, your kids are your greatest liability unless they can jump or run really fast. Right? An asset, by formal definition, an asset is a resource controlled by the entity person as a result of past efforts or past events that from which a future economic benefit is expected to flow to that person or entity. Woo, that sounded really smart, right? I did not make that up. You probably thought I did, but I didn't. This is the one I made up. This is real life. Assets make us money. Liabilities or hobbies cost us money. That's real life. Right? So when you look at something, is it making me money or is it costing me money? Is my wife an asset or a liability? Oh, that's not a good one. My wife made me a lot of money. She started this business. So your assets make us money. Liabilities or hobbies cost us money. If this is a hobby, it's going to cost you money. So treat it like a business, and it will reward you like a business. You guys, the reason that I can speak to this is, you guys, I am so passionate about this business. I am passionate about the products too. I'm not taking anything away from that. We already know those are spectacular. Some of you are still apologizing for the business. Stop it. Because it is the greatest thing that is ever going to happen to them in their ability to fulfill their purpose here on earth. Their why. Okay? So, treat your doTERRA business like a business and it will reward you like a business. Treat it like a hobby and it will reward you like a hobby. So, how do we build an asset? How do we create this residual income? You guys, I will tell you, one of the biggest things that has to happen is at some point you have to shift, your mind has to shift. Many of us, now maybe not everybody, but many of us grew up in a home where our parents went out, they worked, they made money, right? They got paid by the hour. They came home, cashed the check, and that's what we lived on, right? And so we saw this, it's effort rewards you with money. And so if we want more money, we do what? Put more effort in. Work harder. The harder you work, the more you make. And that's what we believe within ourselves. So I've got to go work harder. I've got to make more money. I've got to work harder, right? You have to shift your mindset. So this is a quadrant. This is the cash flow. I'm going to go through this because most of you have already seen this. This is from Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. It's this idea that you have employees and self-employed people on one side of this quadrant. These are the four ways that you make money in America, right? You either are an employee of someone or you're an employee of yourself, self-employed, right? Both are employees. One trades time for money, right? As an employee, you're a dream maker. You make dreams come true, typically other people's dreams. Robert Kiyosaki in the same book said, typically, employees, employees will never get wealthy. Because by definition, an employer is going to pay you as little as possible to keep you there. Okay? So they say, I want to be self-employed. So they go out and they say, okay, I'm going to be my own boss. And yes, this is true. I've been self-employed for much of my life. I am free to choose which of the 18 hours I get to work. But you will work the 18 hours, because the moment you stop working as a self-employed person, you stop earning income. Okay, so we got to switch over to the other side of the quadrant, which is the business owner and the investor side. As a business, a true definition of a business is one in which the income continues with or without your presence, right? You may or may not be there, but the income continues because you have set up a system that operates with or without you. I love the example of McDonald's, right? Because how many McDonald's owners are back there flipping burgers? All of zero, right? They set up a system where 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds operate the whole thing, right? And then an investor is where you basically have enough money set aside that your money makes you money. You guys, there is a chasm between these two. One is effort-based, and one is asset-based. Good again? The chasm in between is huge. You have got to change your mindset from counting your reward based off of your effort to understanding that you are creating an asset. The guy that built the McDonald's, you guys heard me say this, the guy that built the McDonald's, he did not look at his clock one time when he was finding the land, building the building, staffing it, hiring, getting the people going. He's not looking at that because it doesn't matter how much time, it's the asset he's creating. And you've got to switch your mind, because if you're counting your effort, you're looking at this saying, man, I've worked 15 hours this week. What do I have to show for it? Because in the beginning of this business, you work way more than what you're compensated for. Wouldn't you agree? For the most part. You work way harder than what you're compensated for. And then, it's ridiculous what you get paid for the amount of time you spend. Is it fair? What's your belief, right? However you believe is how it is. Do you want to be rewarded from assets, creating assets, or do you want to be rewarded from effort? There's not a wrong or a right, you guys. Right? I'm not here to say that this is one's wrong and one's right. It's what do you want? Okay? One is short term, one is long term. Okay, I'm not going to go through this. You guys all know the story of the buckets and pipelines. Go ahead and hit this. Buckets and pipelines, for those of you that are not familiar, it's the guy, his job is to haul buckets. He goes out there every day, he picks up a bucket, he hauls it over, he drops it off, 2 hours, or let's say a 2-mile walk, he provides water for the community, he gets paid. How does he make more money? Hauls more buckets. Well, there's a point where you can no longer haul more buckets. And so this guy decides, I'm going to build a pipeline. He digs a trench, lays a pipe, digs a trench, lays a pipe, digs a trench, lays a pipe. It doesn't happen overnight, but he digs a trench, lays a pipe, and after 2 years, turns a spigot on, and right to the community is clean, fresh, pure water. You guys, it's a pipeline. What you're doing in life is either hauling buckets or building pipeline. Can you do both? Yes. Do you need to do both? Yes. There is a season for everything. And this is where I want to stress. Too often people say, well, I'm not going to spend any time hauling my buckets. I'm going to go build pipeline. And then they starve before they get to the source, right? So you guys both are very important. Okay? It's just a difference in your focus. Short term versus long term. Okay? Our compensation plan, you guys, is genius. It compensates us for both. For our short-term efforts and our long-term efforts. So I like, from the whole story of the buckets and pipelines, the compensation plan has both. The Fast Start bonus. Fast Start bonus is what? And pipelines. The 20% you make when you go enroll someone and you get a check like literally 2, 3, 4 days later, that's a bucket. Because you'll never get paid again. Well, you will within 60 days of that. But you won't ever get paid after that 60 days for that enrollment. So what do you have to do? You got to go make more enrollments. And is that necessary? Yes. You've got to enroll people. You got to enroll to make short-term money. Okay? Fast start money. The next one. Power of 3. Bucket or pipeline? It's a pipeline. Now, that wasn't overwhelming. Do some of you feel like it's a bucket? Sometimes, right? Power of 3 can be a bucket because you're constantly filling that hole. But as you empower people and you teach the 50, and then you do the 50 and you teach the 50, right? You figure out how to get your $50 bonus, and then you help everyone get their $50 bonus. When you have 3 people that are ordering, that are builders, that are getting a check, you guys, I'm here to tell you, it becomes pipeline income. Okay? Unilevel, pipeline, obviously. Leadership bonus, pipeline. Okay? Business or hobby. You guys, I just want to stress this really quickly because I think too often we just brush over this part of are you running a business or is it a hobby? You guys, if you don't have a bank account right now at a bank that says doTERRA on it, that is separate from your household bank account, it's a hobby. Okay? You have to have a separate bank account because if you have a separate bank account, you can start to measure income and expenses, which is, for a lot of you right now, is really on your mind because tax day is very soon. Tuesday, for those of you that didn't know. If you didn't know, you're in trouble because it's probably too late. Okay? If you treat it like a business, it will reward you like a business. You guys, I teach everybody, your fast start bonuses are for what? Anybody know? What are your fast start bonuses for? For investing in your business, buying books, buying tear pads, right? Buying oils. Your Power of 3 bonus is for what? Travel. How far can you get on $50? You can get around town. So in the beginning, you build around town. You build where you're at. How far can you get with $250? Outside of town. Right? You can probably get to some towns around you. Maybe even the next state. How far can you get with $1,500 a month? The answer is farther, right? Wherever they are. If you build your business in accordance, right? You don't go out and throw $5,000 on a credit card to run to Ireland, right? Ireland was not the first builders that Seth and Rod recruited. So build your business according to your pay. And you will find that as you treat it like a business, it will reward you like a business. Okay? This next section here, the bonus, leadership bonus, Unilevel, Power of 3, that is your doTERRA asset. That's your asset. That's what you're building. That's what's residual. Those are all pipeline. That's what is going to continue to come in every day, day in and day out. There are going to be people in your organization purchasing oils. That's your asset. Okay? So, go ahead. How do we build our asset? You guys, it's based off of one thing. It's retention. Because how many of you want to continue to enroll 100 people every month for the rest of your life? Now, you may want to, but there's a point where that physical exhaustion kicks in, right? And so retention is what allows your asset to grow because the fact that, and you guys, quite simply, this is what, I was a financial advisor for 10 years. I got into real estate investing. We'd gotten up to about 106 rental units when my wife started doTERRA. She was doing it. When I started to do these calculations and I started to look at the retention, I realized she'd have a class and someone would order, and then she'd go have another class and someone would order, and then they would continue to order, and she'd have another class and they would continue to order, and I started to realize, I saw this volume start to grow, and I realized this is real. So I sat through a lot of business classes in college, and what it comes down to at the end, the success in any business, whether it's a hair salon, a restaurant, you name it, whatever it is not how many people you get in through your doors in your big grand opening, right? It's what? It's how many people come back. That's retention. How do we affect retention in our business? lifestyle overviews and LRPs. You guys, too often we overemphasize the value of an enrollment, right? You maybe set goals for enrollments. We get paid immediately for enrollments, right? And so it's like this, oh yeah, I got to get more enrollments because you get immediate pay. It's that instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Enrollments are critical, they're important. But you think about the work that it takes. You got to call somebody, you got to get them to come to a class, you got to get them to enroll. They enroll, you get paid. What's that worth? It's worth whatever you just got paid. Unless you do one more step. And too often we neglect that one more step. Right? We get them in, we get them going, we get them enrolled, and we don't do the one more step that gets them solidified as a customer. Because to build your doTERRA asset, it's all about customers. Customers that understand how to order, how to get into their back office, what they need, what their protocols are for the next 3 to 6 months. They understand how to look up what they need and figure out what their protocols are. You guys, that extra step is the difference between building an asset and hauling buckets forever. It's that critical. It is the single most important meeting, appointment, presentation that you do when it comes to building your asset. Okay? So, are they both important? Yes. They're both important. We need to do them both, right? Short-term versus long-term. Effort-based versus asset-based. Okay. Creating an asset for the future. Go ahead. You guys, this is where I had to change this up a little bit because this is what we understand typically. This is the process that typically we go through in creating an asset. Is you make money, right? You take that money and you put it in the big golden bucket, right? That being a savings account of the bank, an IRA, a retirement account, whatever it is. You put it in there, you save it. That is going to create, it's going to make an interest, right? You're going to get paid an interest rate on that money. Typically, and let's say that over the course of your career, you save $2.4 million in this savings account. And that savings account, let's say, is growing at a rate of 5%, right? And so you're earning this interest, you're earning it over time, it grows, and you get up to $2.4 million. Well, at some point you're going to retire, right? You're going to need that nest egg, that asset. You guys, this right here is the asset. This is what typically people think about as an asset. Is you've got this lump sum of money that you saved up over the entire working career of your life, and that's your nest egg. Okay, well, what we do is you times that by whatever interest rate you're making on that money, okay? And that creates your income in retirement. Does that make sense? That's how it works. I was a financial advisor for 10 years. That's as complex as it is on a simple level. Right, Alex? I mean, it doesn't get worse. In its simplest form, it's you create a nest egg. That nest egg creates interest, and that is a residual income for someone that can live on it for how long? For forever, as long as they don't use up the nest egg. But you guys realize this same concept works in reverse. It works in reverse, okay? So let's say in this particular situation, $2.4 million times 5%, that creates an income every month of $10,000 a month in just interest. That interest that you can live on, that you can spend, that you can use however you want. But if you take that and instead of multiplying it by your interest rate, if you divide that income, so let's say you have $10,000 worth of income, if you divide it by 5%, it tells you exactly how much your net worth or your nest egg has to be. So I just want you to understand, just internalize this image that teaches the concept of the forward and backwards. I know what a lump sum creates, what it's worth, but if I know what I'm getting paid on a monthly basis, I can also calculate the value of that lump sum. Or, in other words, the asset, right? The 2.4 million is just the asset. Okay? So, what is the value of the activities of building a doTERRA business? What is it worth? You guys, some of you have been doing this for a while, right? Some of you just started a couple of days ago. These activities are worth the exact same for everyone. It's just simply a value. Okay? And I'll show you how we get to it. So, a new enrollment. You enroll somebody on an average LRP of 125 per month. Do sometimes people order more than 125? Yes. Do sometimes they order less? Yes. So 125 is just a good medium because that's how you get the free oil of the month, right? So we're just going to accept that. The value of an oil, or of a LRP at $125 per month that's placed on your third level because they're just a customer. Well, if you take that 125 PV, you times it, you're going too fast. Okay. Okay, right there. If you take that times 5%, that means that one order every month that they make that is worth $6.25 to you. Every month. Well, if they do it every month, times 12 months, that's $75 a year. Right? Now, that $75 a year, you remember on the illustration? That's the $10,000. That's how much you're making. So what's that worth? Well, divide it by a fixed interest rate at 5%. That's $1,500. That means that whenever you sit down with someone and you teach them how to set up an order, and you teach them how to be empowered to get into their back office, you teach them and you empower them how to look in the book and see what they need, and they order, that one appointment was worth $1,500. How many of you would do more of them if you thought about it in that respect? That one appointment is worth $1,500. Would you call somebody and make sure that they keep that appointment if you knew it was worth $1,500? It's worth $1,500 in value to your asset. One LRP. Okay? How about a contact? If it takes you 15 contacts to get 5 attendees, so you invite 15 people, you get 5 to come to a class, and 3 people enroll, and 2 of them set up LRPs. Are those realistic numbers? Yeah. You invite 15 people, 5 show up, 3 enroll, 2 get on LRP. Well, if you take 2 people on LRP, that's worth what? $3,000, because each one is $1,500. Divide that by 15. Do you guys realize you just got paid $200 for every contact, every one of those contacts? Even the ones that said no. You made 15 contacts. You got paid $200 every time you picked up that phone. Is that cool? Yeah, so how many times do you want to pick up the phone? If I was standing on your shoulder, Bethany, you're sitting there making your phone calls, and every time you pick up the phone, I reach a $200 bill instead over your neck, over your shoulder, would you take it? That's it. Every contact you make. You guys, those numbers, I didn't make them up. That's realistic, right? You guys even told me that's realistic. 15 contacts to get 5 people to a class, to get 3 enrollments, to get 2 people set up in LRP. Every call you made, every person you talked to was $200. If you guys walked down the street and you looked at it and said, "That's $200, I better stop." Would you stop and pick up $200? If it was on the floor, if it was on the ground? It is. They're all around you. They're all around you. Okay? 10 lifestyle overviews where you set up LRPs as an average of $125 per month. So basically, your $1,500 times 10. If you were to go out next month and set a goal and say, I am going to get 10 people on LRP this month, that's my goal. Do you realize that's worth $15,000 in your asset? That's a lot of money. Okay? Power of 3. $50 bonus is worth $12,000 in your asset. The $250 bonus, that's like going out and saving $60,000 and putting in your asset. The $1,500 bonus is the equivalent of saving $360,000 in an asset, earning 5%. How many of you look at it that way? You guys, it's just math. It's what it is. If you were to go out and create a $50 bonus, you'd have to save 12 grand and go give it to the bank. The bank won't give you 5%, but if you give it to a good advisor, they're going to average about 5% on income producing money. Okay? Now she's got to click it 8 times for whatever reason, and I couldn't figure it out. All right. So what's the value of the average income in doTERRA per rank? Okay, so these are the ranks. This is the average monthly income per rank. If it's paying you at a rate of 5%, your asset or your doTERRA asset, in other words, what you would have to go save to create the income level that these ranks create is right there. Is it worth it to go out and create an asset? Just gold. You're saving $1,147,000, or you go create a gold asset. Did you know, Bethany? Does your husband know that when you hit gold, right? You just create an asset worth $1,147,000. You look at him and you say, what? What did you do the last 2 years? Right? What did you do? That's what it's worth, you guys. That's the value. That's what you created. All right? Okay. So, what is the value of your doTERRA asset? Now, this is where we get class participation, right? I want every one of you to take the last 2 to 3 months of your 15th of the month paycheck. This is not your fast starts. This is the 15th of the month, your paycheck. What was it? I want you to write it down. The last 3 months, what was that number? The last 3 months of your paycheck, the last 3 months. What was it? So if you made $500, $500 3 times, okay? And then you average that. So times 3 divided by 3, right? Or add it up and then divide it by 3. So you get the average. What's the average of your last 3 months? Let's make sure you're paying attention. If the last 3 months was $100 each month, your average would be 300 divided by 3 would be $100. I did the math in my head. Okay. Times it by 12 months, because we're going to annualize it. That is your average annual income. The other thing you could do, you guys, if you're doing your taxes and you got your W-2 or your 1099, what was your 1099 number? That's what you're getting at. Okay, you take that, divide it by 5%. Now, where does 5% come from, you guys? I should have covered this. 5% is just a generally accepted financial planning principle of what you could expect to earn on money that's invested, that's earning an income. Because it's typically going to be invested in income funds or municipal funds, things like that are going to be more conservatively invested. That's where that 5% comes from. It's generally accepted financial planning figure. That figure is the value of your doTERRA asset. That's the figure that you go home and tell your husband that you've created over the last however long you've been doing it. So just for fun, divide it by the number of months that you've been building. So if you've been doing this for 2.5 years, divide it by 27, 30, divided by 30 months. Right? That equals the value that you've created every month in your business. So if some of you are trying to compare this to what could I have been earning over here flipping burgers, that's literally what you've created towards your asset every single month. Okay? So what does that mean? What does it mean? Success. Sometimes we just have to look at things in a different way to recognize what it is you've done. You've done something pretty great. Even if it's not where you want to be yet, it's okay. It's pretty great. So, Pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a round of applause, right? You guys have done awesome. Now, this is the pat on the back you're probably going to get if you go home and share that with your spouse. Because all of a sudden they're going to get, oh, wow, you did what? You guys, in closing, I just want you guys to understand, I love this business. I love what we do every day to impact people's lives for health, emotionally, all those things you guys already know and understand. You have the ability to change people's lives financially. What does a $200 a month mean to someone? It's different for everybody. For somebody, it's a new pair of shoes. For other people, it's actually feeding their family. What about 500? What about 1,000? What about 10,000? What about 20? How about $30,000 a month? Because $30,000 a month means you get to live wherever you want to live, doing whatever you want to do, fulfilling your purpose, being an instrument in God's hands, because you have the freedom to do so. It's in your hands. Why are you doing it? When you know why, and that why moves you to take action, you will understand in a bigger picture, in a bigger way, how to overcome everything that comes in your way. I shared this with a group last night, and this is my closing thought. You're going to have life happen to you. There are certain things that you need to learn throughout this life. What does doTERRA do? It just speeds up the process. We all have innate gifts. We all have innate struggles. You're going to struggle with things. Would you rather learn it on your deathbed, or would you rather learn it now and be able to live the rest of your life with a greater understanding of who you are and what you can do? Thank you.
All right, so we actually went ahead and just, for the sake of time, went ahead and drew the tickets for the raffle, if that's okay. Are you guys all right that we went ahead and did that just for the sake of time? All right, so we actually did pull some names for online as well, so I'm going to read off of online. For those who are online, just so you know if you're watching, because of the glitches and all of the trouble that we've had with the internet today, anybody who was on the list was, basically I should tell you what I did was I was just going to let those who were actually on live stream, if they won a prize, that they would text me and be like, hey, I won, right? But because of the glitches, some of them probably were just like, you know what, I'll just watch the recording later. And so we just decided to take the whole entire list and allow anybody who was on the online list to have a chance to win the prize. So they're on here too. I'm just going to read them out loud. If you win, and just so you know, some of you might have won multiple times because you purchased extra tickets, which is awesome. All the prizes are in the back, and you can, or in the hallway, and you can get those when you leave. All right, so online we have an intro kit for Heather Olson. Some more truffles out there, and the yumminess truffles. Anna Peterson, you won those. Toothpaste, Terry Lewis, you won those. PB Assist Junior, Matt Harmon. Sensational Flavors, Alicia Sage. The Holiday Tin, Cheryl Turner. Family Essentials Kit, Laura Kaiser. You get the Family Essentials Kit to go in your car diffuser, because you got that too. That's why you buy more tickets. Anyway, Body Scrub, Larry Patrick. The Motivate and Console Touch online is Kathleen, I think it said Zealand. If not, I'll correct that. Siberian Fur, Nikki Lammers. Did I get that right? Okay, thank you. Good deal. Nikki, good job. Okay, Slim and Sassy Gum, Alicia Sage. Emotional Aromatherapy Touch Kit. This is online because we already gave one of those today. For Virginia Hume gets that. On Guard Spray, Laura Kaiser, you totally won the jackpot here. Deep Blue Rub, and Polyphenol Complex is Luchelle Mold. Did I write that right down too? Okay, Serenity Caps, Jessica Burke. Just make sure I got all of that. Okay. A Healing Hands CD, which is awesome. Luella Hicks. And a lavender is Melanie Newday. Is that right? No, sorry. Some of those little raffle tickets are like, when you have to write so little and then I'm like, it's hard. Okay, so online we have 2 winners for the Clifton Strengths Finder. We have Cheryl Brown and then Tara Scarfia. Is that how you say her last name? Yay, we got some chairs over here. Yay. Okay, and then this was awesome. Okay, Clifton Strengths Finder, we have 2 more. So six Strengths Finder books are actually given total between 4 here and then 2 online. So we have 2 winners for the Strengths Finder, and that would be Ann Woodhouse. Yay! I was so happy when we pulled my mom's name. I'm like, wow, she'll love that. I'll cheer for her. And then Amber Hurst. I was so, yay, some of my team members won something. So anyway, all right. So you both have my numbers. You can, and I know your address. So anyway, we'll get you there. Okay, all right. Let's finish this up.
Okay. This next speaker has a very special place in my heart. I met Rod Richardson at a training in Twin Falls. And one of the things he said to me, or said to us, was we had to share the cookie. And I didn't get it. Okay? And I didn't get it for quite a few years. I didn't start out this business to share. I accidentally became elite. Don't ask me how. I just used the oils, and people seen it. After that, I just decided to grow the business. But Rod told me I had to share my cookie. So now I'm going to explain something to you. Rod Richardson shared his cookie with Seth, who shared it with Courtney, who shared it with Jody, who shared it with me, who I shared it with my team. None of us would be here without sharing the cookie. Somebody shared that with us. So, Rod, thank you for that little tidbit that all of a sudden came back to me one day when I was kind of being frustrated. The other thing, Rod Richardson is a Blue Diamond in doTERRA, as you guys know. He is married to Jennifer, and let me just say, that is one woman who has a lot of power. And she hides it so well. I love Jen. She has been very supportive of me when I was going through a really rough time. And they have 3 daughters. One who is married and just moved to China. Where? Yes. She just moved to China with her husband, and they are teaching English. So it's pretty amazing. They are living their dream. They built their home, a new home that they've wanted. But I had to come up with the best way to introduce Rod. Okay, first of all, I was going to say I saved the best for last. But guess what? It's been so amazing today, I think he's just going to be the icing on the cake. But here it goes, Rod. So, he is our root beer loving, guitar playing, Mustang driving, cowboy Blue Diamond who truly loves all of us. And with that, we're going to bring Rod Richardson to the stage.
Must be the speakers there. Oh, there we are. Hey, I like that song. That was a really cool song. So are you guys all holding out really well? I think we need to do some more Kelsha exercises. Get the blood flowing really well. So let's see. I was totally expecting to have to rush. And turns out we all got on really good time. And so we're all in good time. So I don't know how I use my clicker. I have an air clicker. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I wanted to start out with this thought. Okay, this is from Tony Robbins, and he basically says that people are not lazy; they simply have impotent goals, and that is goals that do not inspire them. And so sometimes we think about our businesses and we're trying to get people to do things, and maybe we're a little frustrated about that, and then maybe we start to lack belief in ourselves on whether or not we can make something work. But then we start to get or form opinions of people. And I think I've seen this time and time again, where if people are not motivated or moving, it's not because they're lazy or not because of any of the other number of reasons that maybe we conjure up in our minds, but it's largely because they just lack inspiration about what it is that they believe they're about. I think one of the saddest things that I've seen as I've gone around the world is people who lack dreams. And I remember sitting in my previous business in my office one time talking to a young man. He was in his 20s and had everything going for him. He's all buff and worked at the gym, and he was an instructor and sharp kid. And I asked him what his dreams were, and he said, I don't know, I never really thought about it. And I've realized that the lack of dreaming is really been kind of a plague for people. And so just because Tony Robbins gave such a great quote, I couldn't be outdone, of course, by someone with the likes of Tony Robbins. So I came up with my own quote. That was supposed to be funny. You guys are tired, aren't you? All right. Part of that joke was the Rodfather underneath there. But the way that came about, we have a team member, Mary Sisti, who's on the door of Blue Diamond in Indiana, and so I went out there, and their team got together, and they built a T-shirt for me, and on the back of it, it said "The Rodfather," and so every time I went there, they would all laugh. Here comes the Rodfather, and so. Anyway, that's kind of grown, and then pretty soon it got so everywhere I went, that was coming. My wife thinks it's totally stupid. But I got to asking my internet buddies, who do online marketing and stuff like that. They're like, dude, the Rodfather is epic. Right? And that's probably how the Rodfather sounds, right? Or the Godfather guy, right? It's epic. Right? So anyway, here's your Rodfather quote, right? A goal is a target inspired by a dream. Your belief will fuel the achievement of your goals. Now, I did have Jennifer read this to make sure that it wasn't stupid too. And I asked her, does that make sense? And she's like, yeah, that makes sense. Because I've read people's quotes before that take credit for their own quotes. and sometimes it's like, the carpet is brown, and you're like, okay, I'm profound. Anyway, I thought that was pretty good. A goal is a target inspired by a dream. So if you're a lot of times, I find in myself that I can be allergic to goals. Do you ever find that you're allergic to goals? You kind of set them out there and you're afraid of them a little bit. You put them out there, and now I figured out why I'm allergic to goals, and it's because I have. I break out in hives when it comes to personal accountability, right? And if I'm accountable, that's like I'm a terrible employee, right? Because all of a sudden I'm accountable to these people, and for some reason I don't respond very well, and so now your fear or your apprehension of accountability will directly impact your ability to set goals for yourself. And so I found that last night we talked to some of our leaders about a concept called the 5-year loop. And a lot of that looping happens because you're not setting goals. You're not creating a dream, which is a target that's out there. In other words, you're not inspired by something that you want, that you're driven towards. And so because of that, you never really write it down. And so if you have your notes, or if you're writing on anything, for a minute, I would just like you to write down, be brave enough to write down one thing you would like to accomplish by convention. right? So convention is September 19th, something like that, somewhere around there. It's around the back part of. See, when you get to my level, you don't have to know when things are. It shows up on your calendar automatically. That was funny. See, I was doing a test to see if you were really listening. Right? It just shows up on your calendar. And I'll tell you how that happens here in a little while. But be thinking about that. What's one thing you would like to accomplish by convention? Now, if you think about that what you just did is the act of writing down a goal. Okay, you've created a target. And hopefully it was inspired by a dream that you have. And hopefully you have the courage to dream it all. I remember talking to Jennifer one time, and I asked her, "What's your dream, dear?" And she said, "I gave up on dreaming. I've been, every time I put a dream out there, it gets crushed," was basically her response. And I thought that was interesting, that how we get to that space where we just quelch it out because we feel like life has just beat it out of us, or it just can't be ours. And then it becomes easier to just not dream at all. You just don't create an expectation at all, because why suffer the agony of defeat? Now, if that's the case, when I asked you to write something down, for example, and you something probably came to mind that you wanted to accomplish, and when you wrote it down, it was probably something you felt fairly in control of being able to accomplish. Am I correct? It was something like some of you probably wrote, "I will eat dinner," between now and no, just. but you wrote something you felt like you were probably totally in control of. Is that correct? Is that a fair assessment? Okay, so a lot of you, maybe 60% of you, felt like that. Now, if you did that, I want you now to picture your dream clearly, whatever your dream is. Now, one of the cool things about dreaming is it's your imagination. Okay, dreaming is your imagination, and basically what it is it's a canvas. And it's a blank canvas, and you now are in the position to be able to paint that canvas into anything you want. And the one thing that I've been able to do, and has probably lent enormously to my success, is I'm an avid dreamer. It's something. In fact, maybe I got this way because I was a cowboy for 10 years. I was horseback. Continuously on big, enormous open country, many times for hours and hours and days and weeks and months by myself. And so as a result, it creates some issues, right? And but you have a lot of time, and one of the things I became very proficient at is daydreaming. And I would just ride and be inspired by everything. I'm inspired by the environment, and inspired by the horse and the smell of rain, and I would just constantly being inspired, and there wasn't any distractions. We didn't even have cell phones in those days. Not even internet. I mean, texting and writing is a serious issue. Right, so we're writing, and there's just all this inspiration. So I became an avid daydreamer, and what I've realized is that as I've been able to dream, I've been able to move myself the direction of those dreams. Okay, and so dreaming becomes the beginning of goal setting, and you put it out there. And why limit your dream? Why make it a small dream just because of whatever your personal expectations are of who you are and what you are? Why limit that? Just expand it. Let it go, because there's no rule, there's no law on how big your dream can be. Right? I've pushed a dream out there. I want to be a billionaire. It's just a thing I push out. Why do I want to be a billionaire? Sometimes I have trouble figuring that out. I'm not sure all the time. Why would I want to be a billionaire? Now but I've put it out there as a dream, and I've noticed that I've learned how to become a hundredaire. right? and then I learned how to become a thousandaire and 100,000aire and a millionaire. I learned how to do these things. I haven't learned how to become a billionaire yet. I just saw a book title and it said your first billion is the hardest. Okay, so I expect there's some climb there, but I've never allowed myself to worry about the impossibility of it. Because the possibility of it is what has always fueled my world. It's become the fuel for the achievement of my goals. And now what I've realized is that over time I've been fed with ideas that have greater and greater value. And as I've gained more and more experience, I've realized that I'm gaining capacity now. And so I have the capacity to function in the millions, and then I'm working for the tens of millions, how to function in that kind of economy. And then I'll have to figure out how to function in the hundreds of millions. And then I'll have to, and then maybe I'll hopefully live long enough, right? Right? But if I was allowed to keep going, I would eventually be there. And I truly believe that because it's a target that's inspired by a dream, okay? And so if you've ever held yourself back from dreaming, I just invite you to put a dream out there, okay? And just imagine what your world could be, because there's no law. There's nobody that says it can't be. Just push it out there. And the thing that I've realized with that is the more clearly you can picture it, you'll find that your actions will start leading you towards it. It's a fascinating concept, and I will say that virtually everything I've set my mind to, I've been able to achieve. Okay, all right. Let's go to this next one. Okay, these are 4 beliefs. Okay, these are 4 areas of beliefs which will help you succeed in this specific business. Okay, now the first one is the product. Okay, now these 4 belief areas, if you disbelieve in these 4 belief areas, you'll find that you have a roadblock on yourself. For example, if you believe in the product that we're marketing, and you believe in the value of that product and what it has to offer and what it'll do for people, then there's an enormous percentage of your ability to succeed is already in place if you believe in the product. Now, if you don't believe in the product, imagine how difficult this would be. Right? If you really didn't think oils worked, if you didn't think LLV was actually the best in the world, it is, by the way. Just in case you were wondering, I wanted to make sure that you believe that. Throughout my time, we actually get to associate with a lot of people. I've had 2 confirmations, one from the United States and one from Europe, from independent testers who measure these types of things, that have verified that doTERRA LLV is the best formulation in the world. Okay? So I just want you to have that. Now, can you sense my belief now in the product? Right? Now, my internal knowing of the product has come because I use it. And so when you think about it, now all of you here are in business and you've stayed here the whole day, and that tells me that your tenacity to go diamond is really high. Right? You stayed here till the bitter end. Right? And so your tenacity, now you think about it, I have approximately maybe upwards of 4,000 team members in Idaho. Okay? And how many of you are here? All right? Okay? Now this kind of gives you an idea of percentage. So you guys you're already in that space where you've already set yourself in that mindset to move into this and really make it something for you. But and the reason I build that up is because you need to go through your house and you need to look at the things that you have under your water, under your sinks, in your showers, and you need to think of all the areas that doTERRA supplies product. We have toothpaste, we have shampoo, we have skin products, we have oils, we have digestive products and enzymes and different things. And you need to go through your house and say, what am I using and what am I not using? And if you're using another brand for any of these areas, then you have to ask yourself why. Why am I a doTERRA distributor and using Dial soap when I have On Guard? Okay, it's a powerful question, right? It's a real question. Now, I will tell you that not every product that we carry am I a major fan of, right? And that's okay. I mean, there's some of the products that I'm just not there. You know, I don't use a lot of skincare. Because I'm just naturally beautiful that way, right? So I haven't had to use a lot of skincare. It's not a major concern for me. I don't even go to Walmart and buy an alternative. Okay, so, but there's different things. We have found that we've adopted and used some of the products, like the laundry detergent. We've found that if you use it as a pre-laundry stain remover, that it's a miracle product. It's great. And so go through your house and do a mental checklist and ask yourself if there's an area of a product that I sell that I'm not currently using, can I bring it into my world? And if you can teach your customers to do that, why, it'd be super easy to run 100 LRP every month, right? It'd be super easy to run 120. Well, I'll tell you, it's super easy to run 400 PV a month. I'll tell you that right now. And we're not even using them all, right? And that's just, we have everyone on the family on LLV. Everyone uses the digestive products. There's shampoo. Every single kid has their own tube of On Guard toothpaste. Every sink has On Guard foaming hand wash. That's just our house. We ride the brand, right? They learned that at the ranch. It was cool. Ride for the brand, right? so you don't ride for the matador and use Zinchiku Livestock Company's stuff. It's just not cool, right? All right. So the next one, the business model. All right. Now, if you believe in the business model, and this is network marketing, the idea of multi-level. Okay. Now think about how difficult this is if you disbelieve in that model, right? If you believe the negative press, if you believe the mommy blogs, right? Just kidding, guys. I like to think that my wit is on such a high level that no one gets it. All right. So the business model. But as you get into it and you gain a belief in it, think how powerful that is when you believe in it. If you disbelieve in it, think how difficult that is. All right? Now, if any one of these comes up as a block for you, make sure you start seeking your own inspiration about why you would have that belief. For example, if you thought this was a terrible business model and people shouldn't be engaged in it and there should be laws against it and people are scammed about it, well, that's going to be a very difficult belief for you to carry into a business presentation. All right? And then you need to start working through that. I will tell you that I was negative on network marketing for years until I became exposed to the industry and I started to understand how it actually worked and why it worked. And then I started to realize the consistency and predictability in what created success. And then suddenly I found myself a major advocate of the industry. Okay? Now think about how easy it is for me to come into a business presentation and promote the business model itself. All right, the next one. The company. Think how easy it is if you believe in the integrity of the company. If you believe that the company is well managed. If you believe that the company has a solid culture and that their product is worthy, meaning that the efforts that they put into it and the things that they do and their corporate responsibility and things like that, think about how easy that is to promote when you believe and understand that. And on the other hand, think how difficult that is to share if you did not. If you believe that the company was all about profits, or you believed that the management team lacked skill, or you believed you believed that we cheated people in the process and it was an unethical product. I mean, think how difficult that would be if you did not believe in the company. And so if you find yourself in that category, or you have doubts about the company, then you need to write that in your notes and you need to do a deep dive and discover why. And discover if your belief is founded or not. Okay? All right, next one. This is the most difficult barrier of all. And this is belief in yourself. I always thought was interesting why we lack belief in ourselves. I just find this an interesting question because I've seen what happens when people believe in themselves. There's an old quote by Henry Ford that basically says, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you are right. Now, if you think about that, if you allow that to sink in, if you actually have a choice, meaning if the truth is whatever you say it is, I can, I can't, then why would you choose can't? If it's a choice, meaning that the outcome is true no matter what you say, I can, I cannot, then why would you choose I can't? Because I can't doesn't lead to anything. It's a dead-end road. It doesn't lead to the fulfillment of a dream. It doesn't lead to financial relief. It doesn't lead to you doing anything great. And so why would you choose it? If it's true either way, no matter what you think, then why don't you choose I can? Because I can leads to everything good. It leads to your financial freedom. It leads to you doing amazing things. It leads to I can. This is amazing stuff. If it's true either way, then why would you choose I can't? When you could choose I can and have everything you always wanted. Whew. I didn't even write that down. Okay, next one. Another famous quote. Go ahead, next. Your unique strengths are enough for you to succeed. Practice and persistence will make up any deficit. Okay. Now, we're doing all this discussion about strengths, and and it's so cool that you guys all have individual strengths, and you're all super cool in your own way, right? We're all our individual, unique little package. But for some reason, we believe that because we have a certain skill that we can only do those certain things, and if we have a weakness that for some reason we couldn't do the things that we need to do. Because I will tell you that success is the execution of specific steps. Okay? Success, for example, if you're going to play basketball, you must dribble the ball and you must be able to execute it by getting the basketball in the hoop. Is that correct? There is no other way to do it. Now, the way you do it is where your strengths are. But it still doesn't take away from the necessities of the very fundamental steps of success, right? So you have to be able to execute the fundamental steps. And how do you do that? You do that through practice and persistence. There was some people in my neighbor in town where I live, and there were two sons. One of the sons was a prodigy piano player. Prodigy. I mean, he could sit down and play a masterpiece. Both of these kids played piano. The other brother lacked the natural talent. In other words, it just wasn't his gift to be able to play it like just off the cuff like his brother did. But this brother wanted to be a pianist, and so he intensely practiced. And guess who the better piano player is today? The other brother. The prodigy never made it very far because he relied on his strength so much that he never sought to develop himself through practice and persistence. And because of that, he only went to a certain level, whereas his brother went on to become in national acclaim, playing as a concert pianist. He developed the discipline through the process to force himself to learn the skills. Okay? And so I just want you to understand, you are enough. Your uniqueness and your strengths will bring an amazing gift to the table. And it'll be unique. It'll allow you to operate in a way that no one else can. It'll allow you to touch people that otherwise could not be touched. And the skill sets will be developed from your practice and your persistence. I remember hearing a big leader in another company say, you know, your first 10 classes are for practice. And I remember listening to him. He wasn't in our company. He was in another company, and he was a major leader. And he just said, your first 10 presentations are for practice, right? You could take that any way you wanted. First 10 phone calls are for practice. Your first 10 classes are for practice. Your first 10 overviews are for practice. You know, and I'll tell you that if you do anything 10 times, I've created a number of processes. Nobody knew how to do some of the things that I've done as an entrepreneur. I had to create it. Nobody knew the product value proposition of a new product that I created. And so I used to go to a trade show and I'd present it to 10,000 people over a weekend. And by the end, I would be so good. I'd make 100 phone calls to try to get vendors for a specific web project that we had. And you know, by the time I was getting towards that 100, I was so good that no one could say no. It was just practice. Nobody taught me. Nobody gave me a script. I just did it over and over and over, and I figured out how people were reacting, and I kept adjusting, and then I dialed it in. The thing that we're doing here is already proven. The way is already proven. You don't even have to figure it out. All you have to do is do it enough to figure out how it's interacting with your individual personality. And if you adjust to it, you'll dial it in and you'll become an expert. And you'll be a prodigy in your own right. People will go, wow, how do you do that? You know, Courtney Moses, we talk about her a lot. Did you know every time we'd ask her to talk on the telephone, she would throw up all day long? Right? I shouldn't say that. If you're watching Courtney, sorry for sharing that experience. I usually hear about these afterwards. But think about where she is now. And now she dominates the stage, and she runs the call, and she's a great and powerful leader. And it's just an example of where you've applied yourself. You can develop the skills through your weaknesses. All right? Now, next slide. So on our skills, oh, thank you. Got tired of me. So in your back office, I don't know if you know about this, but each of the skills now have a doTERRA-related video related to it. You can find that by logging onto your back office, and you click on the button that says Our Advocates, and down at the bottom of the list, there's a place that says Empowered You. And when you click on it, it'll bring up this page. And then when you, down on the bottom of that, if you click it again, click the screen, it'll bring up individual videos. So once you have your top 5, you can pull that up, and you can watch the specific doTERRA-related video on the strength that you possess. And it'll help you learn how to work within your business based on your individual skill sets. Okay? All right, next screen. This is a model I developed called the Dynamics of Your Why. It starts out, click once. So on the bottom of this pyramid, this describes how you're emotionally walking through how you develop a motivation for something. Okay? And so in the beginning, you're motivated by needs. And click once. And this means that you're reactionary. It means that you're motivated by pain. And you'll notice that most people are. They're motivated by pain in their life. So you probably remember me sharing the story of the hound dog on the porch. So a guy goes, visits his friend. He lives in a cabin. And he walks up the cabin, and there's a hound dog on the porch. And he's laying on the porch, and he starts talking to his friend. When all of a sudden the hound dog goes, and so he looks over at the dog, and then he looks back at his friend, and they go on with their conversation. And after a minute or so later, the hound dog goes, and he looks back at the dog, and then he looks back at his friend, and he goes, "What's wrong with the dog?" And he goes, "The dog's laying on a nail." He goes, "Why doesn't he move?" Because it doesn't hurt enough for him to move. Right? Now, how many of us are sitting on a nail like we're just the hound dog, it just doesn't hurt enough? Okay? This means that you're a reactionary person, that you respond only to pain. And you'll notice why it's difficult to get most people to move along in life is because their world just doesn't hurt enough. Right? There's not enough pain involved. And so that's either because their needs are met or it's at a level that it's tolerable. Okay? Fortunately for me, I'm not actually motivated too much by that. However, when I get in anywhere near any sort of pain, I like react immediately, right? Which is a big reason why I'm here and on fire, because I in the height of the financial crisis, I found myself depending on some other people for food, and that for me was intolerable. It was just, even the thought that would occur, all of a sudden I was like, but I endured it because I knew we were trying to accomplish something great, and then it got to the point where I like, this is ridiculous, I could fix this in 10 seconds. And I did, and I joined doTERRA. And it took me 30 days, right, and I fixed that problem. Fix that problem! God, I ain't sitting on no nail. Right? Dang nails. Well, here's the thing. If you're only motivated by your needs, which most people are. Just understand this. Most people are only going to respond or put energy forth on an immediate need, okay? And, you think about it. You don't think much about crossing the road until a car runs over your foot, right? And then you react. Hey, this was the cool part of the slide. All right, so now here's what happens. If you start the business to fulfill a need and that need gets met, then you'll come across your why crisis. Okay? These why crises hit you throughout your business. The first why crisis will hit you as soon as the business meets your needs. When I started out, I could have, if my only need was groceries, as soon as I could go to the store regularly without bothering anybody else about it, that would have been the end of it. Right? I would have entered the why crisis. I would have had no motivation to move forward. And there you are. Okay? Now that brings up the next one. This is wants. People that are motivated by wants, go ahead and click one more time. This means that you're driven. Okay? This is a driven person and you respond to pleasure. Pleasure and pain are the two greatest motivators. Right? Pain is probably the most significant or reactionary motivation, whereas the pursuit of pleasure, now this applies to all things. This is basically things that you like to do. For example, if you derive pleasure from spending the weekend on the lake with your family, then that's going to drive you, and you will probably go out of your way and do whatever you need to do to make that happen. Right? And so you respond. You're driven. You're more driven. This means that maybe you have dreams. You actually start to dream a little bit, and you think about things that you want. And so these wants will carry you for a long ways. I have experienced this twice in my life where it created an amazing sense of achievement and then an amazing sense of depression. Okay? And I'll describe those times. And I realized what was happening as I was entering the phase of a why crisis. The first time that I experienced it, it is kind of embarrassing a little bit, my vulnerable moment. It'll show you just how shallow my pool was in the early days. But after I got out of high school, my two goals were to have a brand new pickup and a girlfriend. So I got a job, and all of a sudden I had more money than I ever realized. When you go from $0 to $10, it's a lot of money. But it was enough that I was able to go down and buy a new pickup truck, and I got a new girlfriend. Right? And it was such an amazing thing, because then all of a sudden I was like, now what? I mean, I just had limited my ideas of the world. That this is my first experience with a why crisis. I was like, I have no need for existence now. Right? The world has ended. I achieved it all. Well, fortunately, it got a lot larger. The next time it hit me is I founded a .com, and I went to Venezuela to meet with our investor groups, and they basically sat in a meeting with us where they guaranteed our success. In other words, they basically moved in as our partnership. We instantly became on the road to create a public company, and overnight I was worth millions of dollars. Okay, and the next week I was back home in my office. Now that day when that happened, when we were in Venezuela, my partner and I were jumping on our beds, going, we're jumping up and down on the beds, and we ran around the hotels. Everybody spoke Spanish, so they didn't know what we were doing. But we got back home, and I'm sitting in my office, and I'm pondering this. All of a sudden, I have this overwhelming depression, and I couldn't figure out why. And I realized. I realized that, one, I had no idea how to respond. I'd only taken my dream or my imagination to that level. And it happened so quickly that my brain didn't, and my body and my experience didn't know how to respond to it. And so I was left at a point of a why crisis. Now, there was a series of things that happened after that did correct us. That company crashed with the dot-com bubble, and so my partner went bankrupt, and we ended up getting kicked out of our home, and it was an amazing thing. I will tell you, as a person who's been on the bottom of the barrel twice, there is a space even lower than the bottom of the barrel. And I will tell you that having gone through it twice, this is the thing why I'm able to take risk today. This is why I don't worry about a lot of things. And it's because we never died. Okay? I've been about as low as you can go. Twice. I did this twice. I went like, whoa, boom, whoa, boom. I think I was a basketball. Right? And I hit so hard, and we didn't die. Okay? And so a lot of times you guys worry about stuff. You worry about a loss of income or something like that, or you worry, houses, cars, everything that's temporal in this world, you can replace it in a matter of weeks. Okay? So don't be overly attached to whatever you think the world or universe is that you've created at the moment. It can be replaced in moments. In fact, I'll just share the story with you. We literally got kicked out of our house, right? So I'm walking out, and I didn't even get to the end of the sidewalk to our car when the phone rang, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, I understand you're probably going to be looking for a place to stay." And I said, "Well, as a matter of fact," as I was leaving, and the landlord was like dusting up after us. He said he just had some renters leave a house and said, if you guys want to, you can go live into it, because he couldn't afford it anymore. And he said, why don't you just go live in it until it forecloses? Okay, so think about what happened right there. I walked out of the house homeless, basically, didn't even get to the end of the sidewalk when someone reached out and offered me a home. Okay, now my credit was still good. And he said, Rod, your credit's still good. I learned today that really he just didn't want to take on the foreclosure. But I was like, and he goes, if you bought the house now, you could probably extend it out another 6 months or a year before foreclosure, so it would give me running room. So we went in, and I still had A credit, and so I actually bought the house. So now I'm in a house. And then, the payment was coming up, when out of the blue, one of Jennifer's family members called and said they didn't have a place to live and wondered if they could live with us. And I said, yeah, if you can pay the bill. And they said, okay. And they moved their whole family in and started making the mortgage payment. Right? And not only that, but I took her uncle, and he sat me down one day and goes, Rod, I don't know what to do. I go, my job just doesn't pay enough, and we've just been in this endless cycle. And he goes, I'm ready to do whatever it takes. And I said, let's create a business. And so I formed a corporation around his skills. And it was a mechanical cutting technology business. So he was an expert in this field. I had him quit his job, and we created a corporation, and we tripled his income to $200,000 a year. Okay? Just by taking his exact same skills and the exact same people he was working with, I used free enterprise. I formed a corporation. Now, I'm really going to blow your guys' mind what I did next. Okay. Then what I did is I took the basement and I divided it up into office space, and I leased it back to the corporation. And so now I had a house with a $500 monthly positive cash flow. All right? Woo! Yeah, this is creativity. Now, there's two morals of this story. One is, if you're really in a dire position, don't worry so much. If you're open and you allow your imagination to expand, you will be okay. Okay? If you suddenly lost your job tomorrow, or your car was repossessed, or you had to ditch your house or something, it's all nothing. It doesn't matter. Okay? And once you can get into that kind of mental security, you will allow yourself to push towards your dreams, right? Because it won't matter. Nothing holds you back, right? So many times we hold on to things arbitrarily because we believe that they have value or importance to us, when in reality they could be taken at any second and they really have no bearing on your worth. Okay? I just wanted to put that out there. Okay, the second thing I wanted you to understand from that story is that through imagination, we created the solutions. Right? So every problem that you're facing right now, no matter what it is, the only thing between you and a solution is your imagination. If you get yourself locked into a status quo set of the way things have to be, then you're gonna say, oh, well, a person has to do this so that they can have that, and then they have to do this in order to have that. For example, I have to go to school so I can have a good job, right? And I have to have a good job so that I can buy a nice house. And I have to have a nice house so that I have enough credibility so that I'm respected at school. You see how this pattern goes? And then you go and then everything in your life, you've developed this pattern where everything has to be a certain way. And then you lock yourself in. You're like, well, I've been paying for this house for 15 years. We have to do everything we can to make sure that we maintain it. You don't have to do anything, right? Everything can be replaced, especially when you move yourself into a new category of being. Right? As you enter different phases of wealth, your realities change. For example, if you make $40,000 a year and as an income, then your world tends to have a $40,000 a year truth. In other words, every decision you make is based on the capacity of $40,000 a year. If you're a $100,000 a year person, you probably have everything in your world is probably $100,000 truth. Meaning that it means that I can afford this kind of home, I can afford to live in this area, I can afford to do these things, and people in my category do these things. This is what we do, us $100,000 people. Okay? Now, when you get into, when you can break that type of I don't even have the word for it. Do you guys have a word for that? It's like, yeah, it's like a stagnant or blocked. It's like a box. It's like a limit. It's a barrier. What were you saying? A limit. Yeah, it's limit. In other words, you've created all these arbitrary definitions that are defining your world and creating your truths when none of it is accurate. Okay? It's only accurate because you told. And so you have to, then, if you free yourself from those kind of ideals, now you can let your imagination carry the solution, right? And all of a sudden you can be unorthodoxed. For example, one of the biggest things that we did in doTERRA that really propelled our business forward is we did something completely unorthodox, something we could not do. We pulled our kids out of school. We went and lived with parents in another state for 4 months, enrolled our kids in that hometown. In other words, we just took away all the arbitrary limitations that we put on ourselves. All the reasons we couldn't, we just erased it. And we said, what if I can? Your imagination. Okay. Allowing your imagination to go creates unbelievable solutions. That's why you got to have a dream. You've got to paint a picture out there that's bigger than you think, because then your mind will look at it differently. You've got to get out of the world where you think you're a $30,000 person or a $40,000 person or a $50,000 person. You've got to get out of that kind of thinking and say, what if I am the creator? What if I'm a creator? What if whatever I envision can happen? Well, that's a whole new world. You'll start to change everything. Okay? But when you're in this world of wants and you fulfill your wants, say if those are limited to a certain level, as soon as you achieve it, you'll achieve a why crisis. And most of my blue diamonds have arrived at this. And the reality is they're wondering why. Where's my thing? Why don't I want to, why is it hard to get out and go? Well, it's because you fulfilled all your needs and almost all your wants, and any other wants you had probably aren't painful enough. Right? And so as a result, we sit right there, right? That's when you retire as a doTERRA distributor. You get into that spot, and so that leaves one space to go. And that is a quest. Okay? Now go ahead and click the button one time. And this means that you're motivated. So you become a motivated person when you respond to purpose. Now this can be a very difficult thing, but what I believe is that your quest is actually given to you. Okay? As I've talked to people, see, there's a thing. If you just develop a quest in your head, it will stay in your head, and you'll still be at a why crisis because you won't have any feeling about it. And so somehow the quest has to go from your mind to your heart. And here's what I think. Because you really don't experience this level till you're in Blue Diamond. Okay? Or really everything before then, you're still fulfilling needs and wants. Okay? But once you get beyond that, then you're going to enter this why crisis phase of lack of motivation, and then you have to discover purpose. And now what's happened, think about it, you have all this capacity, you have all this capability, you have all this reach, you have all this cool stuff that you have, and then you're doing nothing with it. You're just going about your life doing nothing. And then I think through all this process, you're actually being prepared. Because when you get into a quest, it actually becomes a stewardship. Right? And stewardship are big things. That means that in my opinion, I believe that if you're spiritually nudged into a quest, that you're then given a stewardship. And these stewardships become exceedingly important to other people. In other words, at that moment, the business becomes nothing about you. And it becomes everything about what you're here to do for others. And this is an amazing space because this is a place where true fulfillment and happiness emerges. Okay? A life on purpose is a life that has feeling of fulfillment. It's an amazing space. One of the first times that I really experienced it, when I realized the result of being on purpose, is when I walked at doTERRA for Blue Diamond. Okay, now I'd been Blue Diamond for a long time before I walked, but I walked, and they announced me as Blue Diamond, Jennifer and I, and we came off the stage, and I got. And those of you that have been there know that there's a big giant carpet. You know, they got the big, nowadays it's a big purple carpet. And you start walking down it, and everyone's lined up, you know, cheering for you, throwing confetti on you and all kinds of stuff. But what was really cool is I got off the stage, and I walked, and I got about 2 feet when somebody jumped out and hugged me. And basically expressed their gratitude for the impact that I had had on their business. And then I went 5 more feet, and somebody stepped out of the crowd, like right into the middle of the carpet, and just in tears embraced me and said, "Rod, we're so grateful because what you have taught us had changed our entire world." And then I walked another 5 feet, and someone else came. You can imagine, this is a big hall. By the time I got to the end, they'd already announced 2 other people, so they were back behind us, the names. But when I got to the end, I actually had a sensation come over me. And that feeling was, if I died right now, I would feel like I had maximized my life, that my life had actually made a difference. And so that's a whole different level. I remember one night when we were it was end of month and we were announcing ranks, and 4 team members hit diamond in one night. And I remember we were announcing, and then another name came up, and another name, and another name. And I remember that the feeling was more overwhelming than even the night that I went diamond myself, because I realized that each one of those names was somebody whose life was completely altered from something that we chose to do. And that's when I realized that when you can move your mind to a purpose, and you can allow yourself the space to let the quest come to you, then you'll discover your real motivating thing. For example, Seth described beautifully how there was a specific time that he was spiritually nudged and basically presented with the opportunity to take on a quest. Natalie Goddard described a time where that came to her as well. And she told me, she said, I was praying, and she said, Heavenly Father, really? Network marketing? And she said a voice spoke to her and said, well, Natalie, I can give it to someone else. And she was like, hold on. No, I'll do it. If there's something that big there, I'm headed there. And so when you get to this level, I find that these are opportunities. They're not things that you have to do. They're things that you can do. Okay? All right, next slide. All of these whys are worthy. If you have someone that needs extra income because their world's in disarray and there's heavy debt and maybe there's the world's coming apart or whatever, and they need income, that's a worthy goal. That's worthy. Okay? If they need to be here just because there's health issues and they need the product but maybe they can't afford them, that's worthy. Okay? Now, if you have a dream and you want something, there's something you want to bring your husband home, you want to buy a new home, you want to have new furniture, you want to buy nicer food, you want to live healthier, you want, that is worthy. Okay? It's okay. It's okay to want. And when the time comes that you've been proven ready for your quest, you'll be ready to receive it. And I'm looking right at you. Who, me? What's so cool about that is now everyone's wondering who I pointed at. You'll be worthy, okay? When that time comes, when that message comes, remember, it's coming to you because you are worthy. All right? All right, next slide. All right, this is more practical stuff. The numbers are the numbers. Okay? Let's see where I'm at. Ho. All right, so the numbers are the numbers. Next slide, or next thing. Okay, here's the thing. 30 active LRP accounts are elite. Okay, that's an elite organization. 30 active accounts. So if you want to go elite, how many accounts do you need to have? 30, right? If you want to go to silver, what do you got to do? 90 where? You got to help 3 people get at least 30 active accounts. Okay, that's the job, right? That's the job. Now this is thing. Okay, so 2 active builders per elite line creates synergistic growth. Okay, so if you have a weak line, for example, say you are silver, but maybe you're a duct tape silver, meaning you're just barely hanging on and it comes in and out of qualification. Okay, and you have one powerful leg. Did I just describe everybody? right. Woo! Yeah, right. So you got this bionic leg, right? You got all this power in one leg, and then maybe you have one builder in another, and it kind of hangs on, and then you got this third leg, right, that hits every time you enroll a diamond kit. Right? Well, your basic objective is to continue to strengthen each elite line until you've identified 2 active builders in that line. Okay? Just a basic rule of thumb. And if you do that, you will stabilize the rank. Okay? Every single rank is fundamentally built on a process of elites. So when you get elite yourself, then you train 3, you're silver, right? 4 silvers equal a diamond. Ultimately, you want 5 of those diamond or platinum, 6 of those diamond or platinum people, and you're at the top of the company. Okay? And that's just a series of building 2 builders on each elite systematically. Although we know it doesn't go that fast, right? It's like, please, please. How come I got 16 of you over here and 1 over here? Right? So, but the reason you have a bionic leg, 1 leg with a lot of activity, is probably because you have more than 2 active builders, right? And if you do, that line's probably going crazy. You probably don't worry about it much, and on it goes. So if you know that, then just look at each line and be actively working with you and your leader to bring in or recruit or help activate 2 active builders per line. And if you're doing that, then you're probably in pretty good shape. All right, next slide. The numbers are the numbers. 1% lead. Okay, there's no mystery why there's 1% of everything. Okay, there's 1% taxpayers, there's 1% wealthy, there's 1% this, there's 1%, the top 1% of the class, there's 1% exists everywhere, and you wonder why. Why is that? Well, it's basically a universal thing, okay? It's just a universal thing. The 1% will exist everywhere. If you think about it, even if they take away capitalism, then the 1% then exists in the government. It just flops. It exists somewhere. And it'll be either with the government or the people. Right? And it goes, anyway, you get in the class, there's always going to be the top tier of the class. Always will. It's just universal. Okay? So if you understand that, then certain universal things you just need to embrace and you work with it. 1% lead. Okay, if you have an organization of 500 people, how many people will be leading? About 5. Okay, all right? It's just universal. Now, these are actual numbers from my back office. Okay, so I'm not making these up. There's 80,000 Edge team members. Okay, so the number should be reasonably accurate. I think we're a statistical average of the entire company. One time as I was kind of tracking it. Okay, all right. A committed builder emerges in every 25 enrollments. Right? Again, it just is. I don't know why. Probably because most people are reactionary. Right? Not very many people are driven. Every once in a while, 1 in 25 is driven. Just is. Okay? So if you've enrolled 14 people and you haven't found a builder yet, well, you're probably 10 enrollments away from that person emerging. Okay? All right, next slide. Know your ratios and win. A ratio forms every time you do anything in a repeated sequence, right? If you call 10 people to invite them to a class, you invite 10 people, invite them to a class, and 1 shows up, you have a ratio. What's the ratio? 1 in 10. Right? What if 2 people showed up? What's your ratio? 2 in 10, right? And so once you know that, and you need, we know just by averages that you got to have at least 3 people present to get 1 enrollment. Okay, if you have 3 people learning, 1 person will enroll, almost universally. If you have 3 people at an event or a house meeting or anything like that, 1 person will enroll. Now, if you get really good, maybe you'll have 2 enroll. If you get manipulative, maybe you can get all 3, but then 2 of them will return their products. Okay, you can get overskilled. Okay, that's what I'm telling you. You can develop your language in which a way people cannot say no. I found that to not be very helpful in this business. Okay, it works in direct selling, meaning that if I'm dependent on sales and it's a one-time sell kind of thing, then you apply NLP or neuro-linguistic programming, which is languaging. It's manipulation, basically. Okay, and but In this company, I found that if you're about 50, 5 and 10, if you're about 50% on your averages, you're probably about at maximum skill. Okay? So if you have 10 people, and what I mean by that is if you're enrolling 50% of your classes on average, then you're probably at maximum skill. If it starts to go into 80 and 90 and 100%, you'll probably notice that you're having difficulty keeping the people on loyalty rewards and probably getting a lot of product returns. Isn't that weird? Kind of weird, isn't it? I actually tested this through one of my previous companies where we did a lot of analyzation. I had a consulting firm for business and marketing strategy for 4 years. We helped 300 companies do turnarounds, marketing improvements, and things like that. So we were all about statistical tracking. You want to know some of the really cool stuff? Our closing ratio would be twice as effective if we wore a suit versus casual clothing. That's the kind of stuff we measured. Okay, I found out that I could have the same clothing rate as a suit as if I had a press shirt with my logo on it. Interesting. And we'd maintain about 50%. I found over time we got very perfected in our closing techniques with that company, and we found that we got exactly to the 50% closing ratio. It's great. Now I have talked to leaders in doTERRA that have achieved 100% on a consistent basis. And basically, one gal told us that she finally had to dumb down because the product returns were getting so high. People would enroll because she knew she could talk anybody into anything. They'd enroll and basically return their products the next day. So interesting stuff, right? Okay, now here's the other thing. If your business is becoming unexciting, it's because you don't have new people at your meetings. Okay? If you're holding classes and only distributors are showing up, then the class gets monotonous. If you're having monthly training events and the same people are showing up, which is great. We love having the same people show up. That's the goal, ultimately, right? We want you to show up. But if only the same people are there, then you probably find yourself, it gets harder and harder to go to the event, doesn't it? But the events get super exciting when there's new people. If you want to breathe fire in your life, go invite somebody new, right? Experience the feeling of somebody discovering oils for the first time, and you'll re-find your fire. You will re-find it, I promise you. It's super cool. All right, true saturation points. This is something a lot of people talk about, and this is so funny. All states, except for the state of Utah, are below the point of critical mass. Do you know what critical mass is? Critical mass is about 3% of a population. At 3% of a population, what that means is, in marketing terms, it means that most people have heard of it. Okay? There's only one state, only one area in the entire world that's even at critical mass with doTERRA. And that number is in Utah, 5.33%. Okay? That means it's just over critical mass. What that means is when you call somebody, they've probably heard of doTERRA. It creates the impression that the market is saturated. But is it? No, it is not. Now, they weren't supposed to put this up yet because I was going to do that as a dramatic thing, but we'll pretend like we're dramatized right now. Okay? I just want you to understand, I did a little research and I go, okay, what are market capacities of companies? And I said, well, let's take one of the most valuable companies in the world, and what is their penetration rate? 50% of households have an Apple product. Okay? Now, if you think about that, doTERRA beat Apple to $1 billion in revenue. Our growth curve is almost identical, but ours is faster. Isn't that cool? And so the idea that 50% of households could use doTERRA products, is that feasible? Okay. In Utah, I did a little thing. I realized at one point they were 1 in 4 households had doTERRA products. And in our town area. And I took that statistic and took it out, and I realized that inside the United States, at that ratio, there's a penetration rate of 50 million homes in the United States. The population of Europe is twice the size of the United States. So that means that there's 100 million homes available in Europe. Okay? We have 6 million accounts worldwide right now. Do we have room to grow? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Tons and tons of opportunity. In fact, it's at critical mass that marketing the product becomes easy. So every company is striving to hit critical mass. That's when you have universal acceptance of the product. And then after that, you don't have to tell people what oils are anymore. Like in Utah, you don't teach the class very often because they already know what oils are. They've already heard the story and everything, so they're already ready. And then we just explain the benefits of the account. And oftentimes we're enrolling people even before they come to anything. It's really cool. Critical mass is a really awesome place to be. You guys are not here, not there yet here. No other state is at critical mass. Okay? In fact, everything east of Colorado is still in the 1% range. Okay? You get out east, some states are not even 1%. Okay? So lots and lots of room. Okay, next slide. Work through the process. We'll go through this quick. Okay, ask people if they would like to learn about oils. If yes, then teach them the class. This is the process. Ask people if they would like to buy the oils. If yes, enroll them. Right? Would you like to buy the oils? Enroll them. Fill out the enrollment form. Enter it in the computer. If they enroll, schedule a lifestyle overview and a wellness consult. Ask them if they're open to the idea of creating an income with doTERRA. If yes, show them the business plan. That's the business overview. Ask them if they're ready to get started. If they are, invite them to host a class. Okay, I do that before I train people, by the way. If somebody says they want to be a builder, I just ask them, great, host a class. You can tell everything that's going to happen from the class. And if you do that class in the first 14 days, you have the opportunity then to reposition them in your organization. So if you show up and they totally blew you off, or they sent an email out to 50 people or whatever and nobody responded and they didn't care, then you can probably see, well, they're probably not going to put a lot of energy into the business. Now, if you show up and the room's full, they're like, oh my gosh, I called on my neighbors and I wanted to make sure people were here. Well, that's probably somebody that's going to be pretty dedicated to it, right? And so maybe you'll put them in a little more important position. Okay. Now, ask them if they're ready to build a team. If yes, train them. This is what you do. You got to follow it all the way through. Okay. And then we have little guides and tools to help with that. Next slide. All right. So teach, and this just kind of shows it visually. Teach here, and you're enrolling them. You're educating them on the membership. You're offering the business opportunity. You're inviting them to host a class. And then you're training them how to build. Okay, this is the full process, right? And if you're not making progress, it's probably because, or if you're stuck, it's probably because you're hung up on one part of the process, right? Either you can't find people, or you're not enrolling them, you're teaching them and just not asking them to buy, or you're not doing your lifestyle overviews, or you're not inviting them to do the business. And when you are, then you're not proactively training that person, helping them get started. You're maybe overlooking them or brushing by them or something like that. Okay, I've had people that are super enrollers. I've had one couple enrolled over 300 people, but they went so fast and had so many people, they never brought people through the process. And so as a result, they got stuck at gold and then eventually got frustrated and quit. Okay? And why did they do that? Because they weren't following the process at all. They just were enrolling. Okay? All right, this is the quest. The quest of Edge Team International is to lift and liberate the world. This is the new part of the statement. Next click. With the power of our network, leadership, and capital, we will address the world's most perplexing problems through the power of free enterprise. Our team culture embodies 3 guiding principles. Do you guys know what these are? The health and well-being of our distributors is our number 1 priority. We inspire and develop great and powerful leaders. And our mission is to empower every home with essential oils. Okay. All right. You can learn more therodfather.com. All right, I appreciate you guys all coming out. It's been really, I've really enjoyed coming here and watching all of you grow. It's such an amazing experience. Realizing that some of you sitting in this room were at household tables one day, even believing whether or not this could be something for their future and making choices and decisions. And they did, and now here you are. And now it's your turn. It's your turn to make a decision and say, I can, right? All right. Thanks.
For years and years, I chased their cheers.
Yeah.
The crazy speed of always needing more.
Okay, thank you so much. I know we're a little bit over time, but I do have a couple things I want to do really fast. First of all, for everybody who sat through this, we have a present for you guys. You ready? For the next couple weeks, well, tonight and tomorrow, check your email. There will be a link to this for all of you. Okay? It's only going to be up for a couple weeks, so make sure you rewatch it and get your favorite parts, which for me is all of it. I do need to say thank you to a few people, well, quite a few people. The food was Stephanie and Matt, and then Kathy Hornbacher, sorry, I apologize, and Callie's team got together and made all those cupcakes from scratch and frosted them. So thank you very much. Callie also did the plants, and Kristen and Cheryl Turner helped her decorate, and then also Holly and Delilah. I got them, just trying to read. Delilah and Holly also helped. At the table was Jessica and Kathy Baker and Delora. Thank you guys. Recognition was Janet and Bernie. Tech was also Janet and Bernie and John Ellis, who did an amazing job trying to save us today. We also want to give a big thank you to the Jerome High School. Isn't this place amazing? And Moss Greenhouse, the plants were from Cali, but the pink flowers up here and the ones in the cafeteria on the tables were donated to us from Moss Greenhouse, and they're available for sale at 20% off. So if anybody wants them, see Kristen or Callie. Okay, now one more thing really fast. We're going to go over something. It's called the Diamond Project. Does anybody not know about the Diamond Project? Okay, so the Diamond Project is for everybody. There's a team page. It's called the Diamond Project team page, and that is for everybody, right? Okay, then there's a Launch to Elite group, which is to help get you to Elite. If you are not on that page and you want to be, please see your upline or your next upline or get with somebody to get on that page. There's the Diamond, it's the TDP QT launch group, which gets you to silver. So if you're already elite and you want to go to silver, you head to that page. And if you are already silver and you want to go to diamond, you get on the Diamond Project Qualifiers Q2 page. So just ask your upline. Now, there's somebody very special who had to step out early that I want to thank. Jody had to leave, and we just want to thank her for all her time. She was a long ways away trying to help put this together. So I just want to give a big shout out and tell her thank you. And thank you to all of you for everything you guys have done. Oh, and I guess Janet's here.
Well, you just said everything I was going to say. So thank you, Dawn, for emceeing, and thank you guys for coming. We love you, and go out and do good things. Go out and build your businesses, have success, be who you are meant to be, and remember, take one thing today and remember it, and go do it. Thank you.